Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. Shake it, but keep pointing out all the lies. Putting the scripture right in your eyes. The Bible guy. He reads Hebrew and Greek and shows you that your book's not unique. The Bible guy. He turns through the pages until every Christian rages. The Bible guy. Watch one time and you're hooked. Now let's watch why the Christians get cooked. The Bible guy.
Howdy, howdy, folks. This is the Bible Guy coming at you live from Northeast Texas. Today we're going to have a wonderful show. And, I've already thought about doing a new topic in the future. Let me guys know what you think about this. Christians are no better than Muslims. Every single point that Christians have contention with Muslims on, they are in fact guilty of. So, let me know what you guys think about that idea going forward. Howdy, Ashland.
Hi.
That last
long time no see.
That Chimito fellow was pissing me the fuck off.
They started to talk about prophecy, and you talk about that a lot. So I was like, you know what? Let's get Duncan some little joy in this life, because it's not really been a topic that we've talked about much lately. Get him in here.
Sadly, we barely got to talk on the subject. We, for everyone who doesn't know, we were just on another live, me and Ashlyn, and we were talking to a fellow who was one heck of a yapper and insisted on preaching at us instead of actually defending his position. So, we've come to expect this behavior, though. And he was a liar, too. So that as well. But it looks like we got a guest already in the box. We got Determined Fate here. Determined Fate, I'm going to ask you 4 preliminary questions, and then we can move on to the conversation. Question number 1, are you at least 18?
Yes, I'm 21.
What year were you born?
2004.
All right. Question number 2, what are you a Bible believer?
No.
All right, then I'll skip question 2.
Wait, I'm a deacon. Oh, sorry.
You're a deacon, so you're a Christian and a Bible believer.
No, I said I was gonna say I'm a deconstructing Christian.
Okay, all right. Then question number 3, how much of the Bible have you read?
Percentage wise, I don't know. I read a lot of the Bible though. Just haven't read the whole thing.
All right, and then final question, what pronouns do you prefer to go by?
She, her.
All right, she, her. Fantastic. We have here, remind me of, there it is right there. Give me 1 second. Determined Fate, she, her. I'm Dalton, the Bible Guy. What brings you up to the show?
I just had a couple questions about, I guess some of the things that you know. Did you go to seminary and stuff?
No. I have a high school education and a give 'em hell attitude. But I've been told that my abilities, rival seminarians. So if it's a technical question, I can probably answer.
By individuals who either have PhDs in the subject or went to seminary themselves. So it's coming from, the compliment was coming from positions of authority.
Okay, perfect. Well, what's your best evidence against the resurrection?
Well, I mean, really at the end of the day, our best evidence against the resurrection it's not really evidence against the resurrection so much as it is that Christians have yet to give us good evidence for the resurrection. And until they can meet that standard for the burden of proof, then the default position is just to withhold belief in the resurrection. We don't have, when it comes to what is more likely to be true, that a dead rabbi rose from the dead versus that a few of his closest followers experienced a psychological phenomenon in which they, at least one of them, hallucinated their dead rabbi after his horrific death, is more likely.
So you think like a group of people had an hallucination? Did you say
There,
one person or
well, I think that Peter had a hallucination, that he experienced what we call a bereavement hallucination, where an individual will see a loved one after their passing, via a hallucination. As for the rest of the apostles, I'm more prone to go with the idea of visionary experience, which all that's required is for an individual to claim, like Peter, I saw the Lord and he was resurrected, he was raised. And then for the rest of them, having this expectation, engaging in a phenomenon, engaging in acts which would prompt individuals to experience visionary experiences like praying, fasting, chanting, rhythmic worship. All these things can induce visionary experiences in individuals, so that they would have had some sort of experience where they would have either seen in their own mind eye Jesus, or heard him auditorily, or had like a feeling of him being in the room with them. All that would be necessary for them to claim that they had an experience of the resurrected Jesus.
interesting? I didn't know about the chanting and stuff. Is that in the Bible?
Oh yeah, chanting is something that Jewish people did in religious circles. They take Hebrew prayers and they chant them and sing them, and these can cause visionary experiences under right circumstances.
Oh, interesting. I don't know if you said, okay, you said it was Peter that had the hallucination. Do you
Yeah, he's
believe in
the first person to see Jesus after his death.
Well, this on top
wasn't there one of the gospel counts where they said the women saw the tomb?
We'll get to that in a second,
Never mind.
but Ashlyn has something to say. She has a background in psychology. What were you going to say, Ash?
Yeah, so I was going to say, on top of the fact we don't know who wrote these sources, but I don't like the aspect of it being made up whole cloth. But even if we accept the fact that these are bereavement hallucinations, or some type of visionary experiences, and we say, well, even if it's not common within Jewish faith itself, it's still even though it's still a really common thing for people to experience. In the United States, it's less common, or you just don't hear about it. But any type of these hallucinations by the World Health Organization in modern times alone, they estimate between 30 and 60% of the population. Now, if you incorporate the fact that these would have been common affairs during this time period, that goes up, because we see that when societies kind of suppress these types of taboo beliefs, you tend to see a decrease in either those who are willing to come out with this, or for some reason individuals don't seem as prone to that type of experience. So to me, we could just discard them entirely, or we have a perfectly reasonable explanation. Even if it doesn't sound reasonable, it's still more reasonable than the burden of proof that would be required for supernatural claim.
Now, in regards to Mary Magdalene being the first person that saw Jesus, this is a later tradition. Our earliest sources from Christians is going to be the Pauline epistles, like the works from Paul. And in 1 Corinthians 15, when Paul gives us a list of people that Jesus appeared to, the very first person he mentions in order is Peter. He says that Peter is the first individual that Jesus appeared to. The Mary Magdalene story is a later tradition that was added in the Gospels, which were written decades after the Pauline epistles.
Wait, can you repeat that? Sorry.
The Mary Magdalene tradition, where Mary Magdalene is the first person to see the resurrected Jesus, that is a tradition that evolved decades after Paul was around. In Paul's own works, he never once mentions Mary Magdalene. And when he gives us a list of all the people that Jesus appeared to, the first person in the list is not Mary Magdalene. He never even mentions her ever. Rather, the first person he mentions is Peter.
Mm, interesting. Wait, so which gospel says that it was Mary Magdalene?
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John all make the claim that women appeared
They all do?
at the tomb. But again, Paul never even mentions Jesus being buried in a tomb. He only mentions that he's buried, but doesn't say in what manner. So we don't really have any reason to accept like the empty tomb narrative of the later gospels as being part of Paul's own theology. All he says is that Jesus was buried and was raised and that he first appeared to Peter. In all likelihood, probably was buried in a mass grave, as was usual for crucifixion victims. And then Peter has his bereavement hallucination. Later on, decades down the line, when the gospel accounts are created, because they do contain a lot of myth and fictional narrative, the empty tomb narrative is introduced into the Gospel of Mark, and that's when the women are introduced to the mythology.
So do you at least think that Jesus was real and like actually like existed as an historical figure and like actually died
I'm on the fence.
on the cross at least?
I'm on the fence. Right now, I'm 51% in favor of historicity, 49% in favor of mythicism. But right now, I'm always willing to just accept, for the sake of argument, the historical Jesus of Nazareth, because, you know, not really a lot of point in, on these lives at least, debating the mythicist position.
Oh, interesting.
Anything else determined?
No, that's it. Thank you.
All right. You have a wonderful day.
Thanks, you too.
Nice to meet you.
All right, we're going to move on to Mafia 007, but first I'm going to read the super chat we got on the board from at
Drew Smith TPA with the $5. What should I read next after misquoting Jesus and the Bible says so?
The next book I would suggest you read, it's a really good read, would be God and Anatomy by Francesca Stavrakopoulou. Just type in God and Anatomy and then Francesca, and you should be able to find her name out there. It's a wonderful book about how, while modern day Christians conceptualize God as an immaterial omni being, the ancient Israelites had a very different view of God as a corporeal deity, no different than what you would expect to find amongst other ancient Near Eastern religions. So definitely give that book a check, Drew Smith. Mafia.
It's God, and anatomy. Just because it's like if you type it in weird and you don't type out her name, sometimes it doesn't come up. So I always like to tell people that.
Some very strange charts come up. No, I was kidding. Now, Mafia was in the box. Mafia 007 was in the guest box, but now they are no longer there. So I don't know what has become of them. So everyone, make sure you are tapping that screen, sharing the live with those you love, with those you hate, with your friends, and with your enemies. Tap that screen like Jonathan wanted to tap King David. Let's get the word out there so we can have some interesting conversations. That's a hard word, corporeal. Corporeal, meaning he's bodily. He has a physical body. Yeehaw! Thank you for the cowboy hat. The ancient Israelites definitely viewed God as having a body. He had arms, legs, a head, a penis. And it's only later, after the apostolic age, that Christians start to reconceptualize God to being an immaterial being. Darlton, you look different. Why? I'm not wearing glasses right now. Maybe that's what it is. Next time, can you ask us to tap the screen with your voice modulator, asking for a friend?
Tap that screen like Jonathan wanted to tap King David.
I don't know. People seem to get very upset in the YouTube comments for your request for that. Very upset.
Do it for Bible Daddy.
Well, they don't make it. The majority of people would disagree with them. It's a small minority of people that get butt hurt every time I use a voice modulator. Suck it up. It's not going anywhere, people. Very Brad Pitt from Fight Club. Oh, haven't seen it, but I know the twist ending. I do know the twist ending because it's kind of unavoidable at this point in pop culture. And
At John Klein with the $5. With the $5. Thank you for the $5, John Klein. 67.
What, Duncan? I know look, guys. I've seen a lot of movies, but there's also a lot of movies I haven't seen. Most of the films I've seen are children's movies. Okay, all the mature films like Fight Club, I haven't really seen them all that much. Do you think Jonathan and David played Tummy Sticks? Tummy Sticks? Tummy Sticks is crazy. You know what? In my fan fiction, they do. Plot twist is Duncan and Dalton are the same person.
Wait, what's tummy sticks?
I can only imagine that Tummy Sticks has a lot to do with what I imagine it means. Don't crucify me in the comment section. I imagine. Well, actually, I can't say that because it's a bit too explicit. Here, I'll message you on. Here, wait a minute. I'll message you on.
Ask. I'm basically a journalist asking all the hard questions.
See.
Wait, this is a common phrase? I thought I had like a dirty mind.
This is. I just typed. I just messaged you on Discord. Okay.
It's sword fight? Double Donkey is saying it's sword fight. Is that another name for sword fighting?
Tummy Sticks is from Wedding Crashers movie. Is what I'm saying here. Well, hopefully.
Oh.
Yeah, what I just messaged you. You just read what I messaged you. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Feel it in your. Never mind. Anyways, anyways, everyone, if you are a Christian or you're Jewish, anyone who is a believer in the Bible, so it doesn't mean it's not you can be Protestant, you can be Catholic, you can be Orthodox, Mormon, Jehovah's Witness. I don't give a fuck. If you are a believer in the Bible and you believe the Bible is the true word of God, and you would like to come up and convince me to believe it is the word of God, come on up. Let's have that conversation. I promise I don't bite hard unless you ask me to. Here we go. Another one.
At Flockmeister with the $2. You know about Fight Club? Someone talked.
I know that's the rule. You're not supposed to. I also know that you're not supposed to talk about Fight Club. Now, my only real experience with Fight Club is from Fable. You know, you get to join the Fight Club in Fable, and we talked all about that. But we have here Abraxas. Is it Abraxas? Abraxas. I'm going to ask you 4 preliminary questions, and then we can move on to the conversation. Question number 1, Abraxas, are you at least 18 years old?
Yes, I'm 18.
Question number 2, are you a Bible believer?
Yes, I am.
Question number 3, how much of the Bible have you read?
I would say I've read a decent amount. I'm not an expert. Maybe like 50.
All right. And then final question, what pronouns do you prefer to go by?
He, him.
All right. Abraxas, he, him. I'm Dalton, the Bible guy. Tell me, why should I believe in the Bible?
Maybe I'm just out of format here. I listened to the last conversation. I just had a few more follow-up questions. Like I'm not super knowledgeable. I'm not here to debate. I was just curious. So I was wondering if you'd be okay with that.
You can ask your questions.
Yeah, I was just wondering. Yeah, I know you talked about how the different disciples and like the psychological visions. Didn't it also say that wasn't there like groups who witnessed Jesus' resurrection? Like wasn't there 500 or something? Am I mistaken?
Paul says that there are 500 that Jesus appeared to, although we don't know anything about this event. Like, for example, we don't know that the claim is that the 500 all saw the same exact thing. It could very well just be that we have a group of 500 believers who are all having visionary experiences, experiencing ecstatic speech, having feelings of Jesus being closer and near to them, or auditory hallucinations, any number of different things, or even people who out of peer pressure go, oh yeah, I saw him too. No different than what you would expect from a relatively large Pentecostal church sort of experience. So we don't really know anything about the 500.
Yeah, and like I know I've heard like the claim before that like James was kind of a skeptic and it appeared to him. Is that true?
Well, that's the idea of James being a skeptic comes to us from the Gospels, which were written much later than the Pauline epistles. I'm not quite convinced of the idea that James was like a skeptic of the Jesus movement. I think it's more likely that Jesus's family members rejecting him in the Gospel of Mark is probably written as a way of comforting Christians who are themselves being rejected by their family members, having Jesus rejected by his family members, and him giving words of wisdom in response to that. Yeehaw! Thank you for the cowboy hat. Is probably the origin of that. I don't have any reason to think that James was actually a skeptic.
Okay, and then just like the one last question was it not that like I know like you talked about the Mary Magdalene never being like appear, and like for very certain maybe it was that it was a later addition or a later tradition. Could it not also be that like Paul was presenting it in kind of like a legal stance, and then that like it's terrible, but women weren't really considered, their testimony wasn't considered to be like equal to that of a man at the time?
Only
Could that be an explanation?
Only in a court of law. Outside of a court system, like for example, a woman reporting a crime would be considered as equal to that as of a man. It's only in a court system that her testimony isn't considered as equal to that of a man when she's testifying against someone else. In everyday life, no, a woman's testimony is considered as valid as that of a man's, especially more so in Greco-Roman culture, which the audience of the Gospels are mostly not Jewish people. They're Greco-Roman individuals, so they wouldn't have had any problem with a woman's testimony. Paul would have no problem with referencing, because Paul is pretty pro-woman. At least the authentic Paul is pro-woman. The pseudo-Paul isn't, but authentic Paul is pretty pro-woman, even going so far as to appoint women as apostles.
Yeah, because I was just thinking it's kind of strange that like he doesn't mention any other woman seeing Jesus, does he?
Well,
Like
in that group of 500 I don't have any reason to think there are 500 men.
Yeah, yeah, it's just not explicitly him. It's more.
Yeah, he doesn't explicitly name any of the other 12 outside of Peter. He just because 1 Corinthians 15 is a summary of the people that Jesus appeared to in order.
Yeah, I was just like, it's definitely. I definitely don't think it's impossible that it's that it was a vision. It just seems that there's a lot of like like
when we
conditions for this to have happened.
Well, when we consider the way that Jesus appeared to Paul, we know that Jesus appeared to Paul in a vision, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in First
Thomas,
well, that's a much later tradition, the Gospel of John, and we don't consider the Gospels to be historically reliable. But when it comes to the language that Paul uses in 1 Corinthians 15, he uses a Greek word ophthe for appeared, and the way in which Paul says, and last of all, he appeared to me, he uses the same exact Greek word ophthe in reference to the appearance of Jesus to everyone else. So if Jesus appearing in a vision is sufficient to be considered ophthe, an appearance of Jesus, then it leaves wide open the possibility that every other reference to Paul saying that Jesus, quote, appeared to individuals was also visionary experiences.
Okay, I don't have any more questions. Thank you for answering them.
All right. You have a wonderful day.
You too.
So far, all good guests today. No assholes today yet so far. But
Also,
the stream is early.
make sure to tap the screen, send a heart me if you can, repost the live, do all the things. And if you're on YouTube, only 65, and there are 232 of you on there. I know y'all can do better. I believe in y'all.
We have our next guest is going to be Anglo Fandango, and then the Testament. But first, we're going to read a super chat
From @Rev Repeat with the $5. Swiss cheese has balls. Balls equals less cheese. More cheese equals more holes. More cheese equals less cheese. Is your name Dalton? Duncan. I keep hearing different names.
Well, you've definitely confused me on the cheese topic. That is a paradox I don't think no one can work out.
No. So you're the twin Darren. I told them that you're in witness protection with your twin named Darren.
Duncan and Dalton.
Them asking. And
Oh,
Darren, Dallas, all of them. And by them asking, it's putting us all in danger. So shh.
But in all seriousness, my name is Dalton, the Bible guy. But you can call me Duncan, Dallin, Dallas. I don't give a rip. I've got more names than God at this point. 72 names of God, 7,200 names of the Bible guy. All right. We got Anglo Fandango. Anglo Fandango. I'm going to just go call you Anglo for ease of pronunciation. Anglo, I'm going to ask you 4 preliminary questions and then we can move on. Question number 1, are you at least 18?
Yes.
Question number 2, are you a Bible believer?
Yes.
Question number 3, how much of the Bible have you read?
The Gospels, to be honest, I haven't gotten around to reading too much else so far, unfortunately.
All right. Question number 4, what pronouns do you prefer to go by?
He.
All right. Anglo, he, him, I'm Dalton, the Bible guy. Tell me, why should I believe the Bible is true?
Could we take it from a point of because God is real, the Christian God is real, and kind of go from there?
Well, let's just pretend I'm a deist. I don't really care for philosophy debate. So, like, why should I believe that the Bible is true?
Well, I suppose the necessity of the God of the Bible, the Trinity.
Well, the Trinity is not in the Bible.
Well, I think it is in the Bible. From the word is not in there, but the kind of the concept. It's not. It's obviously the Trinity is not a concept. It's God, but I think it is in there. The actual word is not, but I don't think that really matters.
Sure, I don't think the concept of the Trinity is in the Bible either.
Well, I would say that the Bible was produced by a church who interpreted the Bible as revealing the Trinity.
All right. Well, why should I believe that I accept the idea that, I don't accept the idea that the Bible is a univocal work from a singular organization. The Bible is produced by many different peoples, each who have their own theological presuppositions, beliefs, and that they bring to the table, and that later men have tried to bring together to form a singular cohesive work. So why should I believe that the Bible teaches the Trinity? What evidence is there from the Bible of the Trinity?
I do think it is univocal, because we would say there were obviously many different authors of the different books of the Bible, but they were all inspired directly by the Holy Spirit.
Which one of these do you want to tackle first? The Trinity in the Bible, or the Bible is univocal?
Well, I think it goes together. I mean, I don't mind. I mean, the Trinity, like I say, I would say the Bible, it doesn't necessarily, I accept that the word Trinity is not in there, but I would say Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, meaning the Trinity, are in the Bible. So,
well,
just because the word is not in there doesn't matter.
Each of those beings are definitely present within the New Testament, but they never. There's no idea of them. No, the Son is not present in the Old Testament. There is a Son present in the Old Testament. It's the nation of Israel.
It's the angel of the Lord would be the pre-incarnate appearance of Christ.
Where does the Hebrew Bible ever say that the angel of the Lord is the Son? Where does it ever use the word Son to label the angel of the Lord?
I don't know specifically, but I'm saying that is Christ, that is the Son of God, that the angel
It's
of the Lord, and that's the Old Testament
why should I think that?
appearance of Christ. Well, again, because I think you can't separate, if you're talking about interpretations, you can't separate the interpretation of the Bible from the church that produced it. So there is
Well,
the
okay,
Bible,
I
there is
guess
the
we need,
interpretation of
I
it.
guess we need to talk about how the Bible's not univocal then. Because it's a horrible presupposition to bring to the table because it's going to color the way you talk about the Bible. So, for example, you've said you've read the Gospels. Do the Gospel authors agree as to the nativity of Jesus?
I mean, if you're talking about contradictions between biblical passages, I think, as far as I understand it, I wouldn't say I think, I'm not particularly a Bible scholar in any way, but I am a Christian. I have my arguments. I would say that ultimately any contradictions generally are down to our misinterpretation of it, and the contradictions that there are might be kind of the basic, like, oh, this number of people, one gospel writer said were in, the feeding of the 5,000, and the other one said it was 3 people less. It's kind of inconsequential.
Oh, this isn't inconsequential. I mean, this is not a small difference. It's not a matter of interpretation either. It's just like facts of the matter. Like, for example, do you think you've read Matthew, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was Matthew born during the reign of King Herod the Great?
Well, I know this one. Isn't it the 2 Herods thing? There were 2 different Herods.
Well, I mean, I'm being very specific. King Herod the Great, father of Herod Archelaus, father of Herod Philip, and father of Herod Antipas.
I'm not sure. I mean, I have read it, but I can't remember specifically. But yeah, let's say yes.
So yeah, in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 2, verse 1, it tells us that in those days, King Herod, in the time of King Herod, Jesus was born in Bethlehem. And we know that this is Herod the Great because later on in the text, it tells us that this Herod's son was, seeking the child of the dead. Then it says that his son was Archelaus in verse 22, which would make the Herod that Jesus was born under Herod the Great. Do we know when Herod the Great was ruling the region of Judea?
You tell me.
Herod ruled in Judea from 40 BCE to 4 BCE when he died. Now, the Gospel of Luke tells us, not Luke, I don't know what that's supposed to be. There you go. Luke chapter 2, birth of Jesus says, in those days, a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be registered. This was the first registration and was taken while Quirinius was governor of Syria. So do you accept that Jesus was born when Quirinius was governor of Syria?
Sure, yeah.
Do you know when Quirinius was governor of Syria?
It's going to be a different time, is it?
6 CE, a decade after Herod's already dead.
I mean, I feel like these nitpicky kind of things, do you think that your kind of killer argument, that these like little inconsistencies kind of disprove the whole thing? Because I feel like these things, I think these things are more to do, it can be issues. But this is a very specific fact about the exact, times of the...
Here, how about a contradiction regarding the nature? Would you prefer a contradiction regarding the nature of God?
Yeah, I think that would be better.
All right, we'll go that. We're going to read Numbers chapter 23.
By the way, I don't know anything about you. What's your background? Did you believe in the Bible? No, you don't.
Yeah, I've been Protestant, I've been Catholic, I've even been Jewish at one point. I've done it all, seen it all.
What about Orthodox?
No, never even. I mean, I considered it, but it's no better than Catholicism. I don't give it any more credit than Catholicism.
You don't know.
I do.
I mean, I can talk more about that, but
we're not really interested about anything post biblical. So, God is not a human being that he should lie, or a mortal that he should change his mind. Has he promised, and will he not do it? Has he spoken, and will he not fulfill it? So, what do we know about what God can't do according to this passage?
Well, again, the, you're forgetting that this is all a matter of interpretation.
Oh,
And
God.
I'm saying that the Bible itself is inseparable from the church which wrote it. And
Fun
interprets it.
fact: the church didn't exist when this book was written.
Well, I mean, the church. There is the church before Pentecost. I mean, the second.
I don't
temple.
believe the book of Acts is historical. You have to give me a good reason to accept the authority of your church.
Because it's the one that produced the Bible that we're talking about.
I don't think that's true. So, for example, the church that produced the scriptures, these were Jewish men and women who were Torah observant. Is your church Torah observant?
Well, obviously, in terms of following the laws and everything, we see Christ as the person who kind of fulfilled the laws, and so there are some specific
What does
Old
that mean?
Testament commands that. It means that if you're trying to pin me down on does the Orthodox Church, which I'm a member of, just so you know, does it do everything now that the Jews of the Old Testament did? Then the answer is no. But again, that's not a problem for us because
Then Jesus said to the crowds and to the disciples, "The scribes and the Pharisees sit on Moses' seat." What does that mean?
say again, the scribes and the Pharisees sit on Moses' seat.
Yeah, what does that mean?
I don't know. You tell me.
Well, you're familiar with the bishop's seat. What does the bishop's seat represent?
The episcopal authority.
All right. What does the Moses seat represent? The same concept. Mosaic authority.
Yeah, I suppose. I think the priesthood, the bishopric, I think it's the Aaronic priesthood. I don't know if it's Mosaic, but yeah, sure.
So the scribes and the Pharisees sit on Moses' seat. By saying this, Jesus is stating what about the scribes and Pharisees?
I think in that, unless I can read, it's saying that that's where they sit, but I think he's still challenging their authority. I mean, what's your point?
We'll get to that in a second. But if you say that someone sits on the seat of Moses, what are you saying about them? He didn't say they think they sit on the seat of Moses. He goes, the scribes and the Pharisees sit on the seat of Moses.
Well, again, this is kind of semantic. I mean,
therefore, we'll see what he means. What the result of this is. Therefore, what does it say? Do what they teach you and follow it. But do not do as they do, for they do not practice what they teach.
Yeah.
So,
okay, what's wrong with that?
Well, do you do what the scribes and Pharisees say to do?
Well, yeah, and to the extent that what that means is to accept the authority of the teaching of the church, yes.
That's not what is that what the scribes and Pharisees teach?
Well, I assume that what it's saying is that the scribes and Pharisees preach the law of Moses, which is good, and we can continue to follow. But they, being scribes and Pharisees, are hypocrites. So we don't follow them specifically, but you don't
follow their actions, but you're supposed to follow what they teach. What did the scribes and Pharisees teach?
Yeah, I agree.
What did the scribes and Pharisees teach?
Are you trying to pin me down on the specifics of the old the old law?
Yeah, what did the scribes and Pharisees teach?
I mean, it's the old kind of rules and regulations coming from the Old Testament.
So if Jesus says that the scribes and the Pharisees sit on Moses' seat, or that they have Mosaic authority, and therefore you should do whatever they teach and follow it, which they teach and they teach the law of Moses, what does that mean?
It means they teach the law of Moses. I don't understand. Is your argument that we don't do that, and now it's that's a contradiction?
My argument is that Orthodox believers, as well as Catholics, as well as Protestants, all Christians, you don't follow the teachings of Jesus. Not really. If you did,
how so?
Then, you don't observe the teachings of the scribes and the Pharisees.
Because we don't follow the specific old law, the exact.
Yeah.
Again, isn't that not answered by the Christ? I mean, again, you'll have to kind of excuse my lack of knowledge. Exactly the kind of the sort of the change that underwent in the covenant when Christ came to fulfill it. I mean, you're aware that Christ He
So
didn't come to destroy the law, he came to fulfill it. And what that means is not that it's completely gone away with, but it just means that, like, in the book of Acts, they talk about all the different, do the Gentiles need to follow every single facet
that's
of the old law?
that's
And they
another
come and accept that,
problem.
no, it's not
That's
necessary.
another problem altogether we can get into. But what does Jesus say
You're trying to
after?
pin me down on
What
does the Orthodox.
what does Jesus say after the resurrection? After his death has already occurred, after the Last Supper, after his resurrection, what does he teach his disciples? And Jesus came and said to them, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them.
That's the Trinity.
Well, that we're not going to. And teaching them to obey.
Come on, I got you there.
everything. Nope, you didn't. And teaching them to obey everything that I have commanded you. What does everything mean?
Well, again, you're kind of pinning down on these. This is not really going to undermine the whole
What does
meta-narrative
what
of the
does
Bible, pinning me down.
what does everything mean?
Everything means what the Orthodox Church interprets it to mean, and not what your interpretation is.
Words don't mean, guys. Everything doesn't mean everything.
No, I didn't say that.
Everything only means some
That's
things.
your interpretation.
No, what does
That's your
everything mean?
interpretation.
What does everything mean?
That's your interpretation.
Does everything only mean some
You just
things?
said, okay, well, answer me. What does Father and Son and Holy Spirit mean, if not
Father-
the Trinity then?
Well, there's no such thing as a Trinity in the Bible. Father and Son and Holy Spirit are three
It just
beings.
is right there. Father, Son,
If
and
I
Holy
mention,
Spirit.
if I mention,
no, three
if I name
persons,
off three beings like Isis,
three
Horus, and,
persons.
if I name off Isis, Horus, and Set, am I now mentioning a Trinity, or am I mentioning three gods?
No.
Okay, if I mention
come on,
Father,
you
Son,
know the
and-
difference
okay, we're not
between
gonna, we're not
those
gonna, we're not gonna pivot. You're pivoting right now to the topic of the Trinity.
No, I'm saying,
gonna,
if you want to,
no, you're gonna answer the question. What does everything mean? Stop trying to pivot away because you don't like me holding your feet to the fire about what does the Bible actually say. But I don't know. Maybe you're used to a different kind of dialect. You're used to like Philbro kind of stuff or whatever. But here we talk about the Bible. You need to justify your beliefs from the Bible. What does everything mean? Does everything mean everything, or does everything mean only some things? You can go ahead and answer.
can you hear me again? Yeah.
Yeah. What does everything mean?
Can you? Everything in that, what that line means the interpretation of it is whatever the Orthodox Church.
What does
teaches
everything
it to
mean? What does everything mean?
I just explained.
That's a non-answer. That's a non-answer. What is the Orthodox interpretation? What is the Orthodox interpretation of the word everything?
I'll get my study Bible and I'll see what it says.
Do they
What's
make
wrong with that?
dictionaries? Do they interpret other words to mean different?
Well, the problem is that because you used to be a Protestant, your interpretation.
I used to
of
be
the Bible is
Catholic.
still colored
I used to
by-
be Catholic. I spent the majority of my time as a Catholic, and I understand that you don't do solo scriptura, but you're going to need to tell me, what does the word everything mean?
Could
I'm
they
saying that
interpret the word tummy sticks for me?
Well, can I? Let me answer your question with another example. When in the Bible it says, Christ says, somebody calls Christ good, and he says, "Why do you call me good? There is no good but God." Do you interpret that as Christ denying his own divinity?
No, not denying divinity, but denying being God. Yes, there's a difference.
Well, what's the difference between? What's the
Well,
difference?
in the ancient world, again, I'm not. Wait a minute. I gotta get right.
That's I'm answering.
We're
your
not.
question
We're
with
not
another
talking
example
about. We're
to
not talking
analogize.
about the Trinity right now. As much as you really want to talk about it, you
I know
need
it's
to.
just an example. It's analogous.
No. Define everything.
I'll let me. Which bit of the Bible is that? Let me see what my study Bible has to say. Which passage is that? And I'll see if there's a footnote.
Matthew 28 verse 20. 28 verse 20. Let's see if it gives us a definition for the word everything. Here. Let's take a look at the Greek there.
Say again, Matthew. Which one? Sorry.
Chapter 28 verse 20.
Okay. Let me see. I'm scrolling now. I'm nearly there. I hope it does. If it doesn't, that'll be a real shame. But I'm trying to answer your question, and I don't have enough specific knowledge. Matthew 28, verse... Oh wait, here I think it does have. Oh, I think I do. Okay. Literally, I'm quite literally reading the footnote of the Orthodox Study Bible, and it has one for Matthew 28, verse 20. It says, Christ himself is present in each believer and in the church always, both personally and in the Holy Spirit, for neither can be separated from the other. To the end of the age does not by any means imply that we will be separated from him at the end of the world. He is with us now and forever and unto the ages of ages. Amen. That's all I can really tell you about.
All right.
Specifically
Well,
what
I'll
that
just
means.
ask you again. Then, what is the meaning of the word everything?
Again, we have different interpretations of what that
You
word
you have a
means. What's
different
the
you
problem with
haven't
that?
so you have a different interpretation of the word everything. Does your when you say everything, does that only mean some things?
It has a context. What's wrong with how can't you
Yeah,
understand
the context is everything which I have commanded you. So the context is the commandments of Jesus. Is Matthew chapter 23 verses 1 through 3 a commandment from Jesus?
I do agree that we should follow everything, and I'm saying, and you're trying to pin it. The whole point is you pin us down, saying, "Well, we don't follow the old law to the word now," and I'm saying that's because Christ fulfilled
You
the
don't follow
old
Jesus's words, because Jesus said that
Yes,
you have to. No, you
we do.
don't.
There's
Okay,
no contradiction.
what does Jesus say right after the statement of "I came to fulfill the law"?
Christ fulfilled the law.
I know. I know. Christians love Matthew 5:17, but they don't seem to know 5:18 and
Okay.
5:19. What does Jesus say right after saying,
Go
"I've
on.
not come to abolish, but to fulfill"?
You tell me. I don't know enough.
For verily I tell to you, until heaven and earth passes away, which it hasn't,
Oh, jot and
not
tittle.
one jot nor one tittle will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Therefore, whoever breaks the least of these commandments and teaches others to do so, which would be your church, will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does and teaches them, the same will be called great in the kingdom of heaven.
And what I'm saying is there is no contradiction between what my church teaches now and us following the law. That's how we do it now.
Does your teach you to negate any of the commandments, even the least of them?
No, it doesn't teach that.
So
We're
your
in
church
perfect harmony with what.
So your
Christ
church teaches
taught.
you to observe kosher. Apparently, guys, words like everything just don't have any meaning if you're a Christian.
Again, you have a problem with you pin down on this one word, everything. and
Yes,
you
I'm
deny the
pinning.
context, and you can't separate
the context.
word.
No, I'm not.
from the entire narrative.
I'm not separating the word from the narrative of the Gospel of Matthew. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus is very clear that you need to observe the law of Moses. He reiterates that time and time again, and even after his death, explicitly states that you are to command the nations
there's
to
no
observe
contradiction.
everything that I've commanded you, which would include
I know.
Matthew
I agree.
chapter 20. Well,
I
no,
agree.
you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. Because you don't
I
do.
agree. There is no contradiction. It's
No,
harmonious.
that's not. First and foremost, if you make the statement, I agree, the Bible is not, there's no contradiction, then you're not agreeing with me, because that's not my statement. Matthew 23, what does Matthew 23 verses 1 through 3 tell you to do?
Yeah, well, look, we agree on it, and the reason why I pointed to the bit.
No, we don't. Stop saying we agree when we don't. What does Matthew 23 tell you?
I'm challenging the integrity of your.
You can challenge me without challenge me without misrepresenting me.
Okay, well then, how does Father, Son, and Holy Spirit?
We're not talking about the Trinity right now. You stop pivoting.
I'm questioning the integrity of your argument by proving that you don't care about these.
No,
you don't care about consistency.
Nope, we're not going on to talk about the Trinity. You're going to tell me the definition of everything.
Okay, up to you. There is no contradiction here. We follow
what is the
everything,
meaning of the word everything?
It means what the Orthodox Church teaches. I've said that many times.
Nope, that's not a definition. Give me a definition. Here, what is
sorry, you don't like my answer.
Dalton,
my answer.
Dalton, it actually means what I think everything means. Because that's just
I said my church.
Yeah, but that's just as arbitrary as your church having the authority.
It's not. My church is my church is the church that wrote the Bible. So
no, it's not.
Arbitrary.
No, it's not.
No, because the people who wrote the Bible had a different theology than your church has. Nope. But you're not willing to actually here the Greek word here. I'll just go to the Greek Thayer's lexicon. The Greek word Pas, which is the word used meaning
It
everything,
everything,
means
yes.
any and
Yeah.
every one. So
I
that
agree, that's
includes
fine.
Jesus' statement in Matthew chapter
That's your
23.
interpretation.
No, shut up about
That's your
interpretation. That
interpretation.
word's not doing you any favors. What is you've already
It
agreed with
is.
me. You've already agreed with me that the scribes and the Pharisees sounded
I
Moses'
do.
seat, that this means they have Mosaic
Yep.
authority. True or not true?
Mm-hmm.
Then
That's true, yeah.
And then Jesus says, therefore, whatever they teach you, and you and
Mhm.
do whatever they teach you and follow it. What did the scribes and Pharisees teach?
They taught the old law, and Christ came
All
and
right.
fulfilled the old law.
And so
and
do you
that's
do
what we
so do
continue
you
to follow.
do
It's
and follow
harmonious.
do you do and follow it?
Yes.
No, you don't. You're a
'Cause
liar.
it's fulfilled in Christ. I
You
know
don't
you
know.
don't like the
You
answer.
don't. You no. You.
No,
That's
it's
not
fulfilled in
no.
Christ.
No. You don't know what the word fulfilled means.
That's my answer.
If I fulfill
Well,
the
tell me.
law, if Jesus fulfills a law that says you shall not run a stoplight, are you allowed to run a stoplight now?
I mean, that's a very specific example. Can you apply it to
If Jesus,
an actual
if
law
Jesus
that's
fulfills,
supposed to...
if Jesus doesn't murder someone, are you allowed to?
That one is very specific, and yeah, there's some things were
If Jesus
changed
doesn't commit
within
a
the
fornication,
fulfillment,
are
and some
you allowed to
things were
commit
not.
fornication?
Let me give you an example. There are some parts of the law. The old law was written to raise the people of Israel up to be able to receive Christ, and then once Christ came, they say that again. I didn't hear.
You're cherry
wait.
picking the commandments now.
That's
Here,
my answer.
The,
Wait,
That's my
the
answer.
Torah
That's how it
specifically
works.
says that the Passover celebration is meant to be celebrated forever. Do you celebrate the Passover?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
You-
it's called Pascha. It's Easter.
No, not Easter. Passover with the matzah bread and the horseradish. Celebrate on the 14th day of the month of Nisan, the way the Torah delegates. Do you observe the Passover?
As far as I'm aware, that's what Pascha is.
No,
unless I'm
it's
mistaken.
not. I'm not. No, because Easter falls on all kinds of different dates. It doesn't always fall on the 14th of Nisan, according to the Torah.
That's after Christ's incarnation.
I don't
That's
care.
how we
No,
celebrate
no,
Passover.
no. Again, because you're assuming again your theology, which you've
I don't care if
given
you
us.
don't care. That's how it is.
No, it's not how it is. You've given me no reason. You've given me no because all you've demonstrated in this conversation
It's on
is
your
that
church
you don't,
authority.
is I don't care about your church's authority because your church. You've given me no reason to believe that your
We just
church
appeal
is the
to
authors of the New Testament.
We just appeal to authority. Like that's
It's
like
literally a
that is like a
fallacy.
huge fallacy.
You need to give me a reason to believe that your church are the authors of the New Testament. And when your church teaches something contrary to the New Testament, that's going to lessen the likelihood of me believing this claim. So you need to do something better than just committing an argument ad authority, an argument from authority, which is a fallacy. Give me a good reason to believe that your church authored the New Testament. You can unmute yourself.
Wait, can you hear me? Sorry, I didn't know I could unmute myself. So you want me to demonstrate the Orthodox Church's continuity with the ecclesial structure that's described in the Bible? Is that what you're asking?
You need to demonstrate that the
And that-
Orthodox Church are the authors of the New Testament.
Because the New Testament was written by those who were inspired by the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit still resides in the
Prove
Orthodox
it.
Church to this
Prove
day.
that they were inspired by the Holy Spirit. Is it going to result? Is this going to result in a circular argument that the reason we know that the Holy Spirit inspired the New
No.
Testament is because the New Testament says so, and we believe it because the church says so, and we believe the church because
No.
the New Testament
No, I
says so?
No, it's a good question. How do we know that they were inspired by the? I mean, I suppose because of the. I mean, there's many different ways to, I suppose, go about proving it. Maybe the
Give us
miracles
the best
that they
way.
performed, and I haven't really thought about that. It's kind of like, how do you prove? Yeah, if I'm saying I have divine revelation, how do you prove that? I have divine
Generally,
revelation
I have
and someone
justification
else
for
doesn't.
generally I have justification for the beliefs that I have. Did you just like, I don't know, join a cult and just say they told you to believe in
it's
this?
not that. It's kind of it's a metaphysical kind of question. I suppose I don't spend my whole life thinking about these things.
Maybe
But I like that
you
kind
need
of
to
discussion.
maybe you need to actually read the Bible. I don't know what it is about Orthodox.
No, I have.
I don't know what it is about. No, you haven't. You've only read the 4 Gospels, according to your testimony. Now, I don't know what it is about Orthodox.
it's fine.
I don't know what it is about Orthodox Christians who refuse to actually read the fucking Bible, or to read any of the literature surrounding
do.
to read any of the literature surrounding the Bible. Like, are you at all familiar with
We
first
do.
century Judaism?
Yeah, I suppose. In a limit. Why? What's your point?
Well, it seems like if you were, you would know
The
that.
Jews that rejected Christ.
Well, they rejected Jesus for good reason because he didn't fulfill any prophecies. But again, even if I give you all the data that demonstrates that Jesus didn't fulfill prophecy, you're just going to fall back and say, well, my church says something different. But guess what? We don't. It's just not going to get you anywhere in this conversation.
Well, I do want to get somewhere in the conversation. I mean,
Then you're going to have to bring evidence for your points,
I think,
and not rely on arguments of authority.
I have a question really quick. Just aside, do you go by a different name, Ty Wolf?
you're asking me.
Yes, you.
No.
Okay, just wondering.
I mean, I suppose we can talk about evidence, and I do think that there are arguments on either side. But I would also like to point out that when we're talking about matters of faith, it's not just nobody in the world believes things purely just because their brain matches the logic. It's also a question of the heart as well. And I would ask you to
my heart doesn't do any thinking. It pumps blood. So if I want to believe something, especially a crazy like supernatural claim, I'm going to need data to support the crazy supernatural claim. Like if you're going to make the claim that Jesus was the Messiah, you're going to have to prove to me from the cold hard facts from the Hebrew Bible. We need to look at the language. We need to look at the cultural context, and relying on the beliefs of men who lived hundreds and hundreds of years after the Hebrew Bible was written is not going to get you anywhere in this conversation. So you're going to be able to prove to me Jesus was Messiah from the text itself.
prove that Christ was the Messiah. I mean, I think like if you watch any of Sam Shamoon, he's a little bit crazy now, but if you watch any of his old debates with, no, I don't disagree that he's got some problems, but if you ever watch him debate like Jews and Muslims, he frequently demonstrates how the Old Testament, proves the multiple.
As an ex-Catholic, I've watched Sam Shamoon, and no, he doesn't do a very good job at demonstrating that Jesus was the Messiah. He relies on the same Christian apologetics that Michael Brown will rely on for proving Jesus was the Messiah. Not good arguments.
I mean, does he not make the claim he's the Son of God and all these kinds of things? And he kind of says these things. He never says like, I am God sort of thing. And
we're specifically referring to, does Jesus fulfill prophecies from the Old Testament?
I mean, I really wouldn't. I don't know too many specifics about that. I think like you could find some. You'll be able to school me on that more so than the other way around. So I can't really speak too much to that. But I mean, you asked about the kind of evidence and stuff and everything. It's kind of a philosophical question. I find those more interesting because then I don't know if you do. It's your stream.
We don't talk philosophy on this channel. This is a no Philbro zone. We talk about the Bible and only the Bible here.
Retard maxing. I like it.
Well, bye. You use the R slur, you're gone.
That's how they go. That's how they be. You'll know them by their fruits.
Wow, what a dick! I was waiting for him to crash out. I knew that eventually that if he wasn't allowed to do his philosophical bullshit, that he was going to eventually crash out. Typical Orthodox.
If the church wrote the Bible, you think he'd have more interested in reading it.
No, fuck the Bible, I suppose. You're an Orthodox Christian. Fuck the Bible. All right, we're going to bring up the Testament, but first I'm going to read some super chats. Hopefully the next guest will be able to actually talk about the Bible.
At Sir Game a Lot. Oops, let me turn those supers. There you go. At Sir Game a Lot. With the $9.99. I was reading today. Good. Found out the Romans were able to fund the building of the Colosseum from looting the Jewish temple after they destroyed it. I had no clue. Hashtag gay for Dalton. Hashtag rock hard for Dogsism.
Yeah, you know what's funny is that often sometimes when we picture places like Rome or places like Egypt, we often anachronistically place certain structures in certain time periods. Like when I was a kid, I thought the Colosseum was around during the time of Jesus. I had no idea that it wasn't even built yet. Or I thought that when I was a kid, I thought that the Jewish people in Egypt were the ones who built the pyramids. But turns out that even by the time of the 1400s BCE, the pyramids were already considered ancient, even by that standard. Cleopatra actually lived closer to our time than she did to the time when the pyramids were being built, funnily enough. She saw them just as anciently as we did. But yeah, Colosseum funded by the sacking of the Jewish temple, among other things. Yeah. And one last super chat before we move on to the next guest.
At Griwes with the $10. This is all semantic, he says, refusing to answer a question about what the meaning of a verse is.
Yes, when we're going to talk about what do words mean, of course, yeehaw, thank you for the cowboy hat. Of course, it's going to be a semantic argument because we're talking about the meaning of words. I don't know what's so hard for these people to understand. Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to bring up Testament. And by the way, Anglo Fandango in the comment section, you're not coming back up here. You use the R slurred. You can absolutely go fuck yourself. Anyways, the Testament. Welcome to the show.
To you.
I'm going to ask you 4 preliminary questions, and then we can get into the meat and potatoes of the conversation. Question number 1.
Yep.
Are you at least 18 years old?
I'm 19.
Question number 2. Are you a Bible believer?
I don't know. I used to be a Christian.
All right.
So my standpoint is I'm a former Christian because I recognize that, for example, the lies in Matthew chapter 2. I think you're very aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go on with your questions, please. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Question number 3. How much of the Bible have you read?
All of it, but I think I lack issue in terms of the Hebrew Bible.
All right. And then question number 4, what pronouns do you prefer to go by?
He, him.
All right. Testament, he, him. I'm Dalton, the Bible Guy. What brings you up to the Bible Guy show?
So what I want to ask is, what do you think about the Hebrew Bible? Because when I talk to like fierce Jews, I noticed that I'm just lacking to understanding the meaning, for example, especially in the Torah. Because what I brought up yesterday when I argued with them was that I don't believe with like the Balaam story with his donkey. I thought, this is just primitive, this is silly. And they said, I just don't understand it. Like it has a meaning to it and it's less of just directly reading it, you know? So I'm agnostic at this point, but do you see a strong reason to think that this is not the truth? You know, do you see this? Is like, can you exclude like this God? Do you think he's not real, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So first and foremost, it's important to note that when you're talking to Jewish people, that we often talk to Christians who are like, they don't really deal with what the Bible actually says. Instead, they, like our last guest, they interpret the Bible through the lens of the tradition that they inherited. And the same is true for Jewish people. Jewish people aren't going to be reading the Hebrew Bible plainly for what it says. Most of the time, what they're going to be doing is that they're going to be reading the Hebrew Bible through the lens of a much later Talmudic tradition. So the way that the rabbis of the Second Temple period would have recontextualized and renegotiated with what the Bible actually said. Because Judaism is not an unchanging religion. Like all religions, it's dynamic. It grows, it changes, it sways between ideas. And the Jewish people, as they came into contact with other people groups like the Babylonians, the Persians, and the Greeks and the Romans, they would go on to adopt certain philosophical frameworks from these different groups, which would later color the way they read their own book. But if we were to go by like, what did the ancient authors intend by having Balaam's donkey talk? Well, we would say that, well, let's just take a look at other ancient Near Eastern works. And what we see is that it's quite common amongst ancient mythologies that animals just talk occasionally. So no, you weren't wrong in asserting that this is ridiculous to believe in because Balaam's donkey talked. You were on the right path, and they're just asserting a tradition rather than what does the text actually like tell us.
So what they replied to me was that this is about obedience, that this story is like, your own plans, they don't matter because God's plan matter. Maybe this is how I can form what they replied with.
This is the meaning that they're drawing from the story. But for the original authors, they definitely intended for you to believe that there was, in fact, a talking donkey.
Yes, I see. So it's really primitive, but I understand if you take it just like a metaphor, as an idiom, especially like Genesis and so on. Like I wouldn't have an issue, I would harmonize it with it being metaphorical and not like historical. But of course, that is not the majority what Jews believe, obviously. They think that, for example, Adam really walked the earth and so on. And
this is true.
So this is pretty strong evidence, right, that this God doesn't exist because it's primitive.
Yeah, I mean, like when we take a look at all the available evidence, we do have examples of the Hebrew Bible contradicting itself on the nature of who God is, or on like what happened in certain events. Beyond that, when we take a look at the Israelites themselves, all the evidence seems to suggest that the Israelites didn't come from a singular individual named Abraham, but rather that the Israelites were just another group of Canaanites. They worshiped the same God, they had the same language, lived in the same territory, and there's no evidence for the Exodus. So we would my suggestion to you is to continue doing your deconstruction work, but remember to treat the Hebrew Bible the way you would treat any other ancient Near Eastern text.
That's great. Yeah. So one last thing, I think. So I talked also about Samuel, the contradiction that the Amalekites were utterly destroyed, but they also kind of harmonized it with, like there's clear contradictions, right? But they always try to just make up things. So, like from you're a scholar, so I think you agree with me, right? That I'm sorry.
I wouldn't call
But
myself a
you
scholar.
know the Bible really well.
I'm more of a Bible scholar communicator. So just to be clear
I
here.
see. Yeah, okay. Okay, but I think it's pretty obvious there are clear contradictions, and I'm just getting lied at by theists, I think.
Well,
I think I was the agnostic.
It's not necessarily that these individuals are lying to you, because lying would mean that they know they're wrong and they're saying something to deceive you intentionally. In this case, they're just mistaken. They have grown up in a tradition that colors the way they read the Bible, and they have not yet been able to allow themselves to be able to read the Bible from a non-biased, open sort of perspective, a rigorous scholarly perspective. They're reading it from the lens of their tradition, much like Christians do. So, and lots of Jewish people start to become honest with the Bible, and as a result, they end up becoming, secular Jews.
Yeah, once I talked with Justin, and it kind of confused me because his claim was there's really smart people that actually believe in this God of the Bible, and that kind of confuses me because if you just look at it rationally, this is just primitive, like really, like.
Well,
I try to harmonize it for myself in any way I can in my head, but it just doesn't make sense in the end.
You can be very smart and believe in mythologies. It's called cognitive dissonance. It's like, you can have a really smart person who is in love with a woman and she doesn't love him. And all the evidence would suggest that she doesn't love him. And even though he's very smart, sometimes human brains aren't perfect, and he'll like convince himself that she loves him and all that kind of stuff. This is cognitive dissonance, and the same is true. Like smart people can sometimes be duped into believing in mythologies because they just turn that like critical thought of the critical part of the brain off when it comes to like something that is important to them.
I see. Yeah, we all have been through that. So I think this is kind of everything. So thanks for your time, and I really appreciate it.
All right. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think we sum it all up to dissidence, but there are other explanations for like denial, avoidance, and like rationalization. Those can also just be like emotional defenses, identity and ego protections, or other aspects, and then like just thinking error and biases, like heuristics, brain shortcuts. But dissidence is definitely applicable to many, many different situations. Dissidence is just the distance between, and then we have like justification, minimizing, things like that.
Yeah. Remember, if you are on YouTube and you are a theist or a friendly who wants to ask a question, remember that you can call in the show. You can call in the show at tinyurl.com/Bible Guy Guest. This isn't just a show for TikTok people anymore. Feel free to come on down and have a conversation with us. But until then, I'm going to read some super chats. Let's see.
At Brewes again with the $5. I'm getting whiplash from all the pivoting.
Yeah, that one Orthodox Ortho bro really wanted to talk about the Trinity, even though we were clearly on the topic of, it's sad when you get to a point in a conversation where an individual can't even define a word as simple as everything, you know that they're absolutely fucking cooked. Yeah. Dirty Roger says, this is still a weird hobby. Dirty Roger, you're still engaging in a very weird hobby. You're obsessed with me. Why are you so obsessed with me? Everybody knows.
Dirty Roger, do you still go into lives and comment on women's appearances? Is that still a habit that you have?
That's a weird hobby.
At Brewes again with the $5. Cognitive dissonance or lies. Like this super chat to vote for lies.
Remember, everyone, we want to be as easy as it would be rhetorically to point at certain believers and say you are lying. We have to always remember that in order to say we're lying, we have to know first that they know for a fact that what they're saying is not true. And that can be the case if you've spoken to an individual who you have corrected time and time again, and they know for a fact. Like, for example, Ray Comfort. Ray Comfort is a prominent Christian apologist who makes a lot of false claims about evolution, even though he has been repeatedly, time and time again, corrected by his interlocutors on the way that evolution works. And yet he continues to spout the same nonsense that isn't true. At that point, Ray Comfort is just lying. That would be an example of like someone being a liar. All right. But we got a guest now. TJ Boomin. TJ, welcome to the live. I'm going to ask you some preliminary questions, then we can move on. Question number 1, are you at least 18?
Yeah.
Question number 2, are you a Bible believer?
A Bible believer? Yeah.
Question number 3, how much of the Bible have you read?
All of it.
All right. And question number 4, what pronouns do you prefer to go by?
Him.
All right. TJ, he, him. I'm Dalton the Bible Guy. Tell me, TJ, why should I believe in the Bible?
Sorry, 1 second. Historical evidence, intellectual design of the universe, and your morals.
I don't get my morals from the Bible.
Where do you get them from?
I be fucking, and the Bible doesn't allow for that.
Yeah, dude. Get it, bro. Get it.
But and also I don't think women should be treated as property, so I definitely don't get my morals from the Bible. But I agree that Jesus of Nazareth was most likely a historical individual, but he didn't fulfill any prophecies, and therefore I can't believe he's the Messiah.
Really? You don't believe the Bible?
No, I don't believe the Bible. And the New Testament makes the claim that Jesus fulfilled prophecies, and then I go back into the Old Testament, and read those prophecies for myself, it becomes quite clear that Jesus wasn't the Messiah.
Why is it so clear for you?
Because I'm very familiar, because I've read the Hebrew Bible.
The Old Testament?
Yes.
And you don't think it's the same person?
No, I don't think the Hebrew Bible prophesied Jesus whatsoever. Jesus didn't fulfill a single prophecy.
Yeah, but sorry. What prophecy would you want him to fulfill to make you believe?
Any of them. If he could fulfill even one prophecy, that'd be impressive.
That's crazy, but he came down and claimed he was God and
He never claimed
did
to
a
be
bunch of
God.
other miracles.
He never claimed to be God.
Wow.
He claimed to be the Son of God, according to the Gospels. But he explicitly tells us that he is lesser than God on a hierarchical. He tells us that God is greater than him.
Are you sure you've read your Bible?
Yeah, he limited himself to human form and turned to God. So of course he's going to be lesser than the spirit form.
I just want to say, are you sure you read your Bible? Remember, liars go to hell.
Yeah. Where do atheists go?
No, and depends on where we get buried.
Us, hell doesn't exist, but to you actually believe this shit. So you would believe that you go to hell.
I'll probably go in an urn, most likely. But I really don't care where my body goes after I'm dead, because I cease to function. But no, Jesus never claimed to be God, the God of Israel. At best, what we have in the New Testament is Jesus claims divinity, but not being Yahweh.
That's crazy. You said before Abraham, I am.
Yeah, Jesus in John chapter 8, verse 58 says, before Abraham was, I am. He's definitely claiming to have a special relationship with the divine name, but the nature of that relationship is actually given to us in John chapter 17, verse 11. Jesus tells us explicitly that God has given him the divine name. So Jesus is claiming to be a bearer of the divine name and to be pre-existent, but never claims to be eternal. So how familiar are you with first century Jewish angelology?
Yeah, I don't know nothing about that.
So in the first century, there was an idea that Jewish people held to, that God, as the primary authority, could delegate his authority to lesser beings, and he would do this by bestowing his name upon these lesser individuals. So, for example, an angel could receive the divine name as a badge of authority, and thus could act in God's authority and do things which would otherwise only be the prerogative of God to do. So, for example, Philo of Alexandria was a Jewish philosopher in the first century, and Philo talks about an angel called the Logos. And he talks about this Logos as not being uncreated like God. It is a created being. It's the firstborn Son of God, the heavenly high priest, the image of God, and God used the Logos to create the entire world, but it's still just an angel. And the authors of the New Testament seem to be framing Jesus as if he is this being, but not Yahweh.
Yeah, but none of those angels ever claimed, to be God.
Well, neither does Jesus. He only claims to have God's authority because God bestows authority and gives him authority.
So the before Abraham I am is, you just think it's just he gave that to everybody, like all the angels?
Not everyone. He specifically gives it to chief archangelic beings, specifically the Logos within this theology. The Logos receives the divine name. So, for example, in Matthew chapter 28, Jesus tells us all authority has been given to me. But here, let me give you an example. This is my phone. All right. I own this phone. Are you capable of giving me my phone?
No, that's yours.
Yeah. Because I already own it, you can't give it to me. But Jesus says that he has been given authority by God, which means that authority isn't something inherent to him. It's something only that he receives. And we never get the indication at any point that he had God's authority prior to this.
That's crazy because if he has the authority given from God, you'd think you'd be like, this is the Son of God.
Yeah, Jesus claimed to be the Son of God. He never claimed to be God, though. There's a difference. The Logos angel within Jewish theology is also called God's son, but he's not God. King Solomon in the Old Testament is called God's son, but he's not God.
But there's many people that claim that he said he was God.
Well, that's what people claim. People who didn't write the New Testament claim that. But the authors of the New Testament never make that claim for Jesus.
Really? Not Mark, Matthew, Luke, or John?
None of them. They expressly make claims about Jesus which runs contrary to the idea that he is God.
I think they spoke that he was God.
Citation. Give me a verse.
Dalton, plenty of people claim that I'm God, right?
Your partners definitely
There's
do.
no... yeah, I bet. There's no historical evidence for that, though.
No historical. Yeah, I know. I agree. There's no historical evidence that Jesus was God, but there's also no scriptural evidence that Jesus is God.
No, there's no historical evidence that this chick is God, but there is for Jesus.
No, we have no historical evidence that Jesus was God. We have historical evidence that there are people who lived at a later time who make the claim that Jesus was God. But the authors of the New Testament don't make that claim about Jesus. And as far as we know, we don't have any historical evidence that Jesus made that claim of himself.
That's crazy. So what is the New Testament about? Just some random dude that didn't claim he's God walking around?
Well, no, the claim of the New Testament is that Jesus of Nazareth was one, the prophesied Messiah of the Hebrew Bible, and two, that he was the Son of God. But being the Son of God doesn't make you God. If being the Son of God makes you God, then you have to confess that King Solomon was God. Like, are you aware that the Old Testament says that one, Solomon was the son of God, and two, that Solomon sat on the throne of Yahweh, and that three, that people bowed down and worshiped Solomon alongside God?
Yeah, I'm sure they did, but I don't think they ever claimed that he was the Son of God.
Yeah, they did.
What's the verse on that?
Oh, 2 Samuel chapter 7, verse 14. Here, I'll pull it up on the board. Where God says that Solomon is his son. Let's see.
But we're all his, like, humankind is his son.
So are we all God?
We're all made in his image.
Well, we will look like him. That's all that means. 2 Samuel chapter 7, verse, we'll start for verse 12. This is what God says to King David. When your days are fulfilled and you lie down with your ancestors, I will raise up your offspring after you, who shall come forth from your body, and I will establish his kingdom. He shall build a house for my name. So this is Solomon, because he built the temple. And I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. I will be a father to him, and he shall be a son to me. When he commits iniquity, I will punish him with a rod such as mortals use, with blows inflicted by human beings. So Solomon is called the Son of God, is he not?
Yeah, he's called it, but he never claimed to be it.
So God claims that he is, but Solomon doesn't directly claim it, so therefore he's not? So God's word doesn't matter here? Only Solomon's?
Like I said before, he's the son of God. Like humankind we're all sons.
Well,
but he never claimed to be the...
Solomon claims this is special because Solomon sits on the throne of Yahweh.
Yeah.
So
why is that special?
Not everyone sits on Yahweh's throne. Like,
yeah,
I don't, you don't. But according to 1 Chronicles chapter 29, Solomon sat on Yahweh's throne and receives worship alongside Yahweh.
Yeah, like he should. He was doing everything he could.
So Jesus being worshipped, Jesus sitting on the throne of Yahweh, Jesus being called the Son of God also doesn't make him God himself. This is just the normal way that Jewish people refer to kings and to the special archangelic being called the Logos in first century Judaism.
So you don't think humankind is all sons of Lord? Like,
Well, I don't believe in God, but even if I did, sure, but that's a completely separate thing altogether. Jesus being called the Son of God. Jesus being called, because, for example, the Logos is called the firstborn Son of God, just like Jesus is called the firstborn Son of God. This is a Jewish work from the first century by Philo. Philo calls the Logos angel the firstborn Son of God, just as Jesus is called the firstborn Son of God. But he also says about the Logos that he's not uncreated like Yahweh, and that he is an angel.
Yeah, but he never claimed to be God.
Neither than Jesus. You've yet to give me anywhere where Jesus is actually saying that he is Yahweh.
Before Abraham, I am.
I've already explained to you. Before Abraham was I am is not evidence that Jesus was Yahweh. At best, all it is the idea that Jesus is claiming to have a unique relationship with the Tetragrammaton, with the divine name. But that's something that was already present within first century Jewish angelology. The Logos has a special relationship with the divine name. So does the Metatron. For example, are you familiar with the Metatron?
No, break it down to me.
Well, within Jewish angelology, there was a belief that Enoch, the prophet, was carried off to heaven, and that God elevated him to the status of an angel, and even that this angel was called the Yahweh Katon, the lesser Yahweh.
So he never claimed to be God.
Well, he's got the title Yahweh. He claims to have a special
Lesser
relationship
Yahweh.
with the divine. Yeah. And Jesus says the Father is greater than
That's
I.
what we all are.
He is lesser.
That's what humankind is.
And that's what Jesus was. He was a lesser being than Yahweh. He claimed to have a special
Except
relationship. He doesn't. He claims to have a special relationship with the divine name, and that's it.
See, that's just false.
It's not false. You can say it's false, but until you give us some evidence to suggest otherwise, we're going to take into consideration the cultural context behind the works of the New Testament. There's nothing in the New Testament that's unique to Jesus. The theology surrounding Jesus was already present in first century Judaism, and nothing in the New Testament makes it the claim that Jesus is Yahweh himself.
Except he died and came back to life.
So what? That doesn't make you God either. Just
anyone can do that?
Lazarus was dead and came back to life. Is he God?
No.
Then Jesus dying and coming back to. By the way, I don't think Jesus came back from the dead, but even if he did, wouldn't make him God still.
So you don't believe the Jewish scholars, the Greek manuscripts who talked about him doing that? Like even Tertius wrote about
Who?
him coming back. And that was Jesus' ops.
Who? Who's Titanius?
Tertius or whatever it is, yeah.
I don't know who Titanius is.
He's one of the Transformers with Metatron.
Yeah.
Are you referring to there's another Tacitus? You're referring to Tacitus?
Yeah,
Tacitus writing Tacitus referring to Jesus half a century later says that there are Christians who worship him like a god. That's it. But a person writing 50 years later who never knew Jesus is not evidence that Jesus rose from the dead. Only evidence that there were people around who believed that Jesus rose from the dead.
Yeah, and he wrote about it.
Is that all it takes to believe that someone rose from the dead? Is that a person unconnected to the individual says they rose from the dead and therefore we believe it?
How much more historical evidence do you need for back then?
That's nothing, historically speaking. No one who actually knew Jesus wrote about him resurrecting from the dead.
Are you serious? Like, there's so many verses in the Bible.
The Bible,
500 eyewitness testimony.
Well, no, we don't have any testimony. Where is the testimony from the 500? Where's that at?
So you'd want all 500 to write about
No,
it?
even
When
one.
Papyrus?
Even one of them. Do we have testimony from even one of the 500? Do we know anything about the 500?
Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John.
No. Why do you think Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John are part of the 500? Where are you getting that from?
The Bible.
Where does the Bible state that Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John are part of the 500?
They just wrote about it like they were eyewitness testimony.
No. First and foremost, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John never claimed to be eyewitnesses. We don't know who wrote those gospels. They're anonymous. But secondly, where does the Bible ever make the claim that the 4 authors of the gospels are part of the 500? We don't know anything about the 500. All that we know about them is from 1 Corinthians chapter 15, where Paul says that Jesus appeared to 500 brethren all at once. That's it. We don't know who they were. We don't know where this happened. We don't know what they saw. We don't know anything about them.
Yeah. All right, dude. Well, I'm going to dip out. It was good talking, though.
All right. You have a good day.
I'll come back. I'll do my research.
Please do. Have a good day, TJ. Every time someone brings up the 500, it's one verse in the New Testament. One verse. And it says absolutely nothing about them. We're going to bring up the next guest.
Titanius is a new one for me. Titanius that made my night.
Is a pretty cool name.
Yeah, I know.
Titanius, roll out.
But anyways, we got some super chats. I'm going to read those, and then we'll move on to the next guest, which is Blase 19. Blase is a frequent commenter, so it'll be nice to actually talk to them. At
Carlos Valdez with the 10, count them, the 10 the Bible Guy gift memberships. W to Carlos Valdez. Thank you so much, Carlos. Much appreciated. And at Brian Peck with the $5. Would you consider, quote, in intellectual retrograde, quote, an acceptable R slur?
In intellectual retrograde, you know what? I'll accept it. I mean, it's accurate, ain't it?
And at Martin Papatera with the $5. You and Lind are both brilliant.
I love how this is not the first time, by the way, that I've seen someone refer to you as Lind.
I did. This is the first for me.
I've seen it in the comment section on some of my videos. Some people refer to you as Lind, and it's funny.
You know what? I take it because it's always the last part of my name that they get wrong. So you spelling it correctly, honestly, W, because it's always Ashley, Ashlan, Ashlyn. Like the people seem to have the trouble. For a while, some people thought that I was from North Dakota. Ashley, North Dakota.
This next comment is really concerning.
At Eris with the $5. Seth Andrews' YouTube channel, Thinking Atheist, got taken down today, along with a couple other atheist channels. Make sure to back up videos.
Really? Here, 1 second. Let's see, take a look. Seth, Thinking Atheist. Huh. I don't see it anywhere. I did write that right. If that's concerning, I want to have to reach out to Godless and see if he knows anything about this. All right. Hopefully nothing happens. I'd hate for it to be that this administration is cracking down on non-Christian channels. Oh wait,
It's he's one of the largest creators for atheist content as well, is he not?
yeah. Blase, we've seen you in the comment section quite frequently, so just so I can get a reminder from my audience, are you at least 18?
Yes. Can you hear me?
You're very faint. Very, very faint.
How about now?
You're still faint. Sounds like you're a million miles away.
I'm right here. Maybe it's my mic.
There you go. That's much better.
Okay.
So, Blase, are you at least 18?
Yes.
Question number 2, Bible believer?
Yes.
Question number 3, how much of the Bible have you read?
I'm up to Baruch.
All right. And question number 4, what pronouns do you prefer to go by?
He, him.
All right. Blase, he, him. I'm Dalton the Bible Guy. What brings you up to the channel?
You changed your prompts, but I've been working on the abortion thing, which was number 5 on your list. And I was hoping you could help me with the Hebrew on Exodus 21, 22 to 23. Because I don't speak Hebrew. And from what I've researched, it seems like this is like a really contested verse.
Exodus 21. What specifically Exodus 21?
22 and 23 with the 2 men fighting and a woman having a miscarriage.
Yeah. Which word exactly are you looking for more information on?
So what's confusing me is the stuff that I read, it brings up this Hebrew word yatzah. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right because I don't speak any Hebrew or read it. And I know you're good at that. So I wanted to know, like, when you read this in Hebrew, like, how does it come off to you?
So vayatsu is the word in question. Let's take a look. Veki nitzav anashim ve'nagafu isha hara ve'yatzvu yeladeya ve'lo yihaya son. So it appears here like the word yatsa is serving the purpose of meaning to go or to come out. It's the literal meaning.
Yeah, and then the other word is that I'm looking at in 22 is asan, with the word for like harm. Do you see that there?
Asan. Let's see. Asan. Ason.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this like harm, mischief, like to bring suffering upon an individual. This is the basic definition. To be it means to be harmed in the general way that we use the word harm.
Okay, so like when you read this in Hebrew, and since we're doing data over dogma, do you interpret it as the child was harmed when it came out and has died?
Yeah, well, that's what most scholars seem to believe, that when it refers to the coming out of the child, this is a premature coming out that results, like, in death.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because it's like, really, like everything I've researched on it, it seems very contested. And like I've been watching, like, I know you recommended Dan McClellan, and he compares it to the Hammurabi Code 209 and 210. But it seems different because Hammurabi is like really like blatant, with the property crime. Like it says in 209, if a man strikes a man's daughter and has caused her to have a miscarriage, he will weigh out 10 shekels of silver for her fetus. And then 210's even worse because it says if that woman has died, the guy who did it's not going to die. His daughter's going to die. So that seems like way worse, ancient Near East, than what I'm reading in 22 and 23 of Exodus.
Yeah, you only have to pay a fine for the death of the fetus in this case.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that I'm having trouble with, is because like there's no like amount of money that's given. So it kind of implies to me culpability.
Well, you have to keep in mind that the Torah isn't really like a functioning legal code that the ancient Israelites were actually like using in their day-to-day lives. Like the people weren't going to court and like comparing the actions of people against what's written in the Torah. The Torah is mostly like used for like, it's like propaganda work. It's not an actual like law code that was actually in use by the ancient Israelites. That's just how a lot of Christians
And like
treat it, narratively speaking.
Yeah, and the Septuagint like changes even more because then it includes formed and unformed. So like, do you think like historically speaking, like this was just a very confusing verse to begin with?
Formed and unformed? This probably has to do with like the later Hellenistic idea that fetuses in the womb were like non-beings because they were unformed.
Yeah. Yeah, so when you read it in Hebrew, you treat it as it is a property crime and the child has died from the incident.
Yeah, the child in the womb is dead, and as a result, the perpetrator of the crime has to pay the man the fine for committing this crime against him.
And then if the woman were to die, that's when lex talionis applies. Like then it's life for life.
Yeah, because she is considered a living soul.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, this was tough to research because it seems like there isn't really a strong consensus. And I just wanted your take since you're a Hebrew reader. I've been building my implicit argument for the Bible not being pro-abortion.
Oh, I don't think the Bible's pro-abortion. I just don't think it's anti-abortion. It's neutral.
Yeah, well, I would agree with you on like, you know, explicitly it doesn't you know, it's not anti-abortion, and you do have to do a lot of work to make it implicit. That's what I've been doing.
No, the Talmud, that's a different thing. The Talmud is pro-abortion.
I agree, yes, that the Talmud for the life of the mother, but that's after first century Judaism, no? Am I wrong?
Well, the Talmud is really like a compendium of traditions that at least go back to around the 1st century BCE, but are written down between the 3rd to 5th century CE. But yeah, I mean, it's written down after 1st century CE, but it's containing traditions that go back to at least the 1st century BCE.
Okay. Do you think that 1st century Jews did practice abortion like their pagan counterparts?
It would differ depending on like the philosophy of individual groups. So it's hard to know because amongst the ancient peoples there are like a multiplicity of philosophies as to when ensoulment occurs. So depending on when the Jews at the time would have believed ensoulment occurred would have determined whether or not what their views on abortion would have been. And we just don't have a lot of information. And we know that at least by the time the Talmud is written in, they revert back to the biblical standard that ensoulment happens at first breath. But the Jews of the 1st century were heavily influenced by Hellenistic philosophy, and perhaps they may have placed ensoulment at a later point.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I've been building this argument. I started with Josephus against Apion because he's like super explicit that Jews don't do abortion. And I don't think that the Christians you know, were anti-abortion, like it was a Christian invention. I think they inherited it from the Jewish tradition, and that's why they're so explicit in extra biblical works like the Didache, Epistle of Barnabas, Epistle of Methodist.
Yeah, if the Jewish people of the 1st century had adopted a Hellenistic framework where ensoulment would have occurred sometime during the quickening or even at conception, then they would have probably been anti-abortion. But in biblical times, they wouldn't have been. It's only because of their influence from Greek thought that they would have like changed their view on abortion. And once the Jewish people started moving away from Hellenistic thought and trying to revert back to like a more biblical stance, that's when in the Talmud they would have been more okay with abortion.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it's really what I wanted to pick your brain about because I don't read Hebrew. And this verse is like, I don't know, it's a hot mess. Like the Septuagint changes, the people are like, I've heard McClellan's argument. I understand your argument, but it just doesn't seem like if I had to like be honest about it, I'd say like maybe like 30% of it's a Hammurabi ripoff. But it seems a little different because it doesn't establish really it being a property crime to me. It's kind of more of like a
Well,
culpability thing.
how do you think that inspiration works? Like, it doesn't mean that they take 100% of something. It just means that this is where it originated from, and they took it and applied their own culture to how they like represented that. Like, it doesn't, when you have inspiration of something, it doesn't mean an exact replica.
Yeah, I could agree with that. McClellan kind of like in his video mentions it's like almost a direct ripoff, but when you read the two side by side, it's definitely different. So yeah, I would agree that, like I said, I could see some inspiration, but I don't see it being like a direct copy.
I would have to see what McClellan has to say himself on that, but I'd be very because I already know Dan McClellan's position on the Torah is the same as mine, that the Torah wasn't actually used as a formal legal code within ancient Israel, but rather it was a piece of like scribal practice to copy it down, and that no one was actually like, that's why the Torah isn't exactly it doesn't cover every aspect of legal case law, because it was never really intended for that purpose.
Yeah, see, like that's the stuff that like I need to flesh out. Like that's why I came up, because I wanted to hear stuff like that so I could look into it, because the more you research things, you kind of like you get lost and stuck in the mud.
I would suggest perhaps the Hermeneia Bible commentary on the book of Exodus if you want a really deep dive on this passage.
Yeah, I mean, the best I can do with the passages that are given to, I wouldn't say it's anti-abortion, but more like trying to promote, human dignity in the womb. It is the Christian passages that like, deconstructionists kind of like, try to disarm, like Jeremiah 1, chapter 1:5, Job chapter 10, 8, 12, Psalm 22, 9, 10.
I mean,
Psalm 139.
None of those tell me are neither anti nor
13,
pro-abortion.
16.
None of those are anti or pro-abortion either.
I agree with you. Yeah, no, I agree with you. It kind of just establishes like this intrinsic value in the womb
to
and then they have
individuals.
to do some heavy lifting.
Yeah, to Jeremiah. That passage is about Jeremiah specifically.
Yeah, the same thing with Job 10, 8, 12, Psalm 22, 9, 10, Psalm 139, 13, 16. I'm not disagreeing with you.
But where does personhood happen according to the Jewish belief system?
Or at
Well,
least
it seems to me like...
Or
at
in
least
soul
according to the
direction.
Hebrew. Yeah, at least according to the Hebrew
Yeah.
Bible, when does the personhood occur?
Well, that's a really good question, because even in, the Christian tradition, that's debated hotly well into,
But
the 19th century.
The Jewish take according to the text.
Well, yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Yeah, I don't care about the Christian tradition. I care about what the text says.
Yeah, don't forget that Christians were being influenced by Hellenistic thought. The question is, though, what would the ancient Israelites consider like when a person becomes a person? And the only reference we have for what they would believe is the Hebrew Bible.
Right. That's why I brought up Josephus against Apion 2.202.
Josephus is living at a time when the Jewish people are being influenced by Hellenistic thought.
Right, and we don't know when ensoulment happens, so maybe he's just taking the
when does
the
Genesis
safe route of saying.
When does Genesis say that a person becomes a living soul?
I think that would be like the Stoic position of first breath.
Yeah, first
Would
breath.
I be wrong with that?
Yeah, first breath is when a person becomes a nefesh chaya. So that's our only reference for what the ancient Israelites would have thought when a person becomes a living soul, is when they received the first breath. So for them, the fetus in the womb wouldn't be considered a nefesh chaya.
Like I would caution you about using any older text to try to reference back, or newer text, excuse me, to reference back to the traditions during this time period for the ancient Israelite people. that would be utterly like, and I mean this respectfully, ridiculous to try and do.
Well, with Josephus, I'm just more interested as to why he became so explicit.
Because
Like,
he was
why does he
influenced
believe that?
because of his influence from first century
He's told-
Pharisaic-Judaism, which is influenced by Hellenistic thought. The Jewish people were heavily
Yeah.
influenced by Hellenism in the first century.
No, I agree with you, but I thought we established that during the Hellenistic period, there was like the 3 ensoulment beliefs, right? Like the Stoic belief of first breath, and I don't remember the other 2 Greek terms for it, but the idea of like a delayed ensoulment in the womb and then
The quickening.
ensoulment at conception. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like he's
and
around that time.
the minor-
So I have to look.
Yeah, and the minority position amongst Greeks was the first breath position. The majority of Greek philosophers would have held to the idea of ensoulment happening at the quickening or at conception, and Jewish Pharisees living in the first century, like Josephus, would have held to the same like sort of concept. So that's why Josephus holds to that view, is because he's being influenced by the culture of his time.
And
So-
even if the position of the quickening, like that still gets you to 16 to 20 weeks. It's not a complete still they would be pro-abortion just until I want to say pro-abortion. They would be okay with it until that 16 to 20 weeks marker. And in fact, that's just modern day understanding. I don't know when they would have thought the quickening to really have been. I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, no, in the ancient world, abortion, contraception, and infant exposure were practiced and legally and socially acceptable. And Tacitus, Titanius, as the other caller named him, kind of agrees with Josephus through hostility by saying that he felt the Jewish practices were sinister and revolting because they didn't practice these things. So I think the ensoulment question, is definitely interesting, but I'm more interested as to why, like, Titanius, Irenaeus agreed with Josephus about the Jews not doing this practice, and then the Christians picking it up and then being like super explicit about it.
Don't forget that Judaism is in the first century wasn't a monolith. Like there was no such thing as
sure.
the Jewish belief. There are you get the Essenes, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the Zealots, all the Sabbateans, the Therapeutai. There are many different groups of Jews, all who have different perspectives on like these different matters.
Yeah. All right. I mean, this was a really pleasant conversation, Dalton and Ashlyn. Thank you. Ashlyn, I know last time you were a little disappointed at me for not wishing you a good night. But in fairness to me, we weren't really introduced. So
I joke.
yeah. I'm gonna keep looking at this, Dalton. Maybe the next time you have the bullet points up, I'll come up. But thank you for your take on Exodus 21, 22, 23, because that is a really tough passage to like try to make sense of.
Happy to help, bud. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Have a good night.
All right, we're gonna bring up a YouTube guest. Let me see. Wait. What did you send me, Ashlyn? A picture of?
Huh?
You sent me a picture on Disc.
I sent you 2 pictures. One was of yourself and how disappointed you look at the one caller.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was reading the comments underneath it. All right, we're gonna bring our YouTube caller in now. Let me take a look and get this nice and set up for us. Let's see. Add to scene.
See the Discord live chat that I tagged you in?
That too. It's kind of like football, but instead of wearing pads, instead of football, it's
No.
Okay.
No, I tagged you in the live chat.
Well, what the hell did I just pull up? I didn't mean to pull that up. 1 second. Hey, I'll see what you're talking about in just a moment. But for now, caller, what name should we call you by? Over on on YouTube. Hello, caller.
Bill.
Oh,
There we
Can you hear
go.
me all right?
Yes, I can hear you.
Test.
What should I call you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. All right. No, sorry. I had you muted. I'm over 18. I'm not a Bible believer. What else? Him. I haven't read the Bible. You can call me Bob.
Bob. All right. Welcome, Bob, to
Okay.
the Bible Guy
So,
Show. What brings you up?
It's more like a question for the person who's just erudite in Bible knowledge and stuff. So obviously God does magic in Bible. I mean miracles. Sorry. But do other people do magic on their own, or it's only magic through God?
No, other people do perform magic in the Bible. We read, for example, in the book of Exodus, we see that Pharaoh's magicians are able to perform magic as well, not just Moses.
Oh, and like both in like Old Testament, New Testament, both?
In the New Testament, let me think if I can. I can't think of any explicit references to magic being performed in the New Testament, but we do have references to sorcery and magicians as being a thing in the New Testament, but we don't see any like examples of magic being performed.
Okay, I see. So like it's in New Testament, it's mostly miracles, only miracles, I guess.
Yeah, the
But
only claims of miracles in the New Testament. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's pretty much all the questions I had. If you want to give me like an example of like most weirdest, egregious magic thing that you can remember from Bible that wasn't done by God.
That wasn't done by God. Most egregious. The other.
Some like weird. I don't know. Entertaining.
Oh, well, I suppose the Witch of Endor, she calls forward the spirit of the prophet Samuel from the dead, which is pretty cool. Necromancy. Everyone who plays Skyrim, we're all about that conjuration school. So I think that's pretty cool.
All right. Yeah, that's all the questions I had. Thank you very much. I enjoy watching your lives. All right. Take care. Have a good
All
one.
right.
Bye.
Have a good day, Bob.
he doesn't sound like my dad.
Is your
My
dad's name Bob? Oh, well, there you go. All right. God's sword. We've spoken to you before, but just so I can get a reminder for the audience, are you at least 18? Bible believer? How much of the Bible have you read? And what pronouns do you prefer to go by?
Is that a euphemism?
I'm 33. I do believe in the Bible. I've read quite a bit.
And pronouns?
Not applicable. Same way I do it on the form.
No, everyone has pronouns. Even your God has pronouns. Unless you think you're better than your God, I would suggest you give me your pronouns.
Well, are you saying that in order to continue the conversation, forcing me to say what you want me to say?
Yep.
Would that be fascistic or authoritarian of you?
I'm the dictator. No. This is my channel. So you can either answer the question or bye-bye.
Well, isn't that equivalent? Isn't that equivalent to what we see with the Marxist territories?
I'll give you one more chance. Pronouns or leave. Which one is going to be?
Not applicable. You backwards tyrant.
Then I don't want to hear from you. You can't answer questions. I don't want to talk to you. As simple as that. All right.
Make Ken mod, because I missed something very, very important that I shouldn't have missed, and Ken is here.
Where are they?
We were gonna do that before.
Ken, say something in the comments real quick so I can see you. There you are.
Say something.
Yeah, Ken, I finally figured out how to make people mods. So let me see. Add moderator.
God Sword said Shrek ran. Well, God Sword. Like,
I didn't run. I didn't run. I kicked you out. I didn't run. I kicked you out. There's a difference. I'm still here. You're just not. So I'll bring you up, and I'll give you one. I'll give you one opportunity, only one opportunity, to tell me your pronouns. If you don't, then I won't let you back up, and you won't get the opportunity to come up anymore at all today.
Can I call him God's penis?
God's penis? Yeah, sure. Why not? See.
Okay. Hi, God's penis.
Well, what are your pronouns?
King authoritarian.
Well, those aren't pronouns. Sorry, bud. Too stupid to have the conversation. And you won't be coming back up today. You can call back in on Thursday, but hopefully you'll actually share your pronouns. Listen, you have to answer my 4 preliminary questions, or you don't get to talk to me. Them's the rules. If you want to walk into someone's, you can sit there and I won't decline your request to come up, but I also won't accept it. So you can just sit in my request box all day. I don't care. I don't need you here. For the next hour, you can just sit there like a good little sub you are. All right. Let's see. And in the super chat,
Pat Allen with the $2. Simon Magus in Acts does magic.
does he actually do magic in the Book of Acts? I know that he's referenced Simon Magus, and I know that in later like in the Gospel of Peter, for example, he does magic tricks. He'll float into the sky and stuff like that. But do we actually see examples of Simon Magus performing actual magic in the gospel? Let's take a look. Let's see if I can find something. Let's see. As you see, Simon. Let's see. But there was a man named Simon who had previously practiced magic in the city and amazed the people of Smyrna by saying that he himself was somebody great. Well, it says he did perform magic, but do we see any examples of him actually performing? I say performing like, what is he, Chris Angels? Let's see. I don't see any examples of him actually doing magic on screen, so to speak. Only references to him have done magic. But yeah, I had Simon Magus in the back of my head when I was thinking about magicians. I just didn't bring him up because I wasn't aware of him doing any actual magic. Let's see, Chris Angel, yeah. Simon Magus is the Chris Angels of the ancient world. There's a story where Simon Magus and Simon Peter are before the emperor, and Simon Magus uses demons to make himself float into the sky, and then Simon Peter tells the demons to let him go, and Simon Magus falls to his death.
Hey, and by the way, God's penis is saying that you ate Santa, so he's making fun of your appearance. Very Christian of him.
Very Christian. I mean, listen, that's all they got is bullying. Christians are bullies, everybody. Let's see. He can't defend atheism. Atheism is not something to defend. To have and Jewish thought destroys him. Jewish thought destroys me. Jewish thought destroys you as a Christian. But also, again, you're just an ass. I don't care what you think. Yeah, I fucking like food. So what? I think you're just mad, bro, that you don't know how pronouns work. But it is what it is. Anyways, I'm also going to mute you. Watch this. So now you can sit in my guest request box, and you can't talk to the audience, and you can just sit here and watch me dunk.
He called you a chunk as well, so
hell yeah.
Guest, everybody
I got more to love. I'm more to love.
Well, the 298 watching on YouTube and the 134, if you were thinking about converting to Christianity, that's what you have to look forward to. Just FYI.
God forbid you're fat and a Christian. They'll roast the fuck out of you, apparently. God's wiener also doesn't know what counts as evidence, facts, or the scientific method. Shocker. But also, yeah, thank you, Karen Ann. Your mic is hot as fuck, just like me. Thank you. Sorry. Maybe you would be able to behave like an adult if they ate a Snicker. Yeah. God's wiener. You should eat a Snickers. You're not you when you're hungry. Or maybe this is just him. let's see. I've had a one-on-one with him on his other account, and he was insufferable. Shocking no one. Of course he's insufferable. Well, I don't know what it is about Christians on TikTok. Like when I went to church, no one acted like this. Is it just that when they go on TikTok, they just turn into assholes? I don't understand. Let's see. The ones that use their religion and their username usually are insufferable. I'm just a Dalton Ashland fan. Hell yeah, Kieran on. Yeah, listen. By the way, remember everyone that the number one way of knowing if someone is a huge red flag on the debate scene, if they've got the word truth in their username, remember that this is probably an indicator that they're full of shit. That's just a good rule of thumb. So I guess until we get a guest in here, I guess I'll give you guys actually no, we got a guest, so I guess I'll bring him up. And then afterwards I'll give you guys our Hebrew lesson for the day. Mozane 64. Mozane, I'm going to ask you the same 4 preliminary questions that I ask every one of my guests, irrespective of who they are. Question number 1, are you at least 18 years old? Mozane? Oh, gone. All right. Hebrew lesson it is then. Oh, nope, Gabriella. I got 4 questions for you. Question number 1, are you at least 18?
Oh yeah, I'm 23.
Question number 2, are you a Bible believer?
So I am a Bible believer, but I haven't done too much reading onto it, so I'm not well educated on it.
All right, well that answers question 3. So I'll go to question 4. What pronouns do you prefer to go by?
She, her.
All right, Gabriella, she, her. I'm Dalton, the Bible guy. Did you want to come up to convince me to believe in the Bible, or did you have questions for me?
No, I wasn't going to question anything or tell you what you should or should not believe in, but I was going to say that everybody's walk with a religion is completely different. And to, I guess, try to believe, then you should at least read a little bit.
Oh, I'm
put it on your own judgment.
I'm an ex-Christian, and I know the Bible better than most Christians on TikTok do.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to debate how much you know or don't know.
So I've done the work. I'm an ex-Christian. Well, spent most of my life as a Christian.
What made you not want to believe anymore?
The Bible. I had no choice. Once I actually learned the Bible front to cover, learned its original languages, cultural context, it became I had no choice but to not believe.
Was it certain
There's a number
things or just in general?
Bible contradictions, the Bible being historically inaccurate, scientifically inaccurate, and Jesus failing to meet fulfill any prophecies.
Okay. Have you ever tried to branch out and maybe believe in a different religion, or you just didn't want to?
I've been Protestant, I've been Catholic, and I've also practiced Judaism. I've tried different ways. None of them had good answers for the problems of the Bible.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I guess that's all I gotta say.
All right. Have a good day, Gabriella.
Bye-bye.
I don't call myself the Bible guy for nothing, guys. All right. Hebrew lesson of the day. Okay. And this one kind of goes into a popular conspiracy theory online. We're going to be talking about that conspiracy theory. Oops. Let me get into this. And then screen share. All right. King of Knives, we'll get to you in just a second. We're going to do a quick Hebrew study here. So this is a popular...
You know what's interesting to me
Mm-hmm.
is that she didn't actually seem curious about anything that's in her text. She was just curious about you to try and convert you. That's what it seemed like.
It is what it seemed like. Now, this is a conspiracy theory surrounding the NASA organization. There are some flat earthers online who make the silly comment that NASA means to deceive in Hebrew. Is that true? No, it's not. Now, the word NASA is actually an acronym for the National National Aeronautics and Space Agency. And that's an acronym. Now, the reason why there are conspiracy theorists out there who think that NASA is actually a secret code word for the word to deceive is, one, because they don't speak Hebrew, and two, because they can't read a lexicon to save their life. In the Hebrew, the word for deceive is spelled Nun Shin Aleph. Nun Shin Aleph. The vowel points associated with it are a kamatz and another kamatz, and then a shin dot above the letter shin. And for people who can't read Hebrew, if you open up a lexicon, generally what will end up happening, and most of these conspiracy theorists, they'll use the Strong's Concordance. So we'll reference that. If you open up a Strong's Concordance, you're going to see this in the bottom telling you that this is how this word is pronounced. So what? Does that mean that the Hebrew word for deceive is NASA? The answer is no. Because along with the letters NASA for the word for deceive in Hebrew, there are other markings that are present above and around the letter. These markings are called diacritics, or diacritic marks. And the purpose of diacritics is to tell you how a word or letter is to be pronounced. So, for example, is the A in this word here supposed to be a short A or a long A? Is it a or ah? Is it na or na? In this case, the marking above each of the A is a diacritic, which is called the macron. It tells you that the A is a long A. So, unlike NASA, which has a short A sound, it's a long A. The letter, the diacritic mark above the letter S is called a caron. And the purpose of the caron is to indicate to you that the letter S here is pronounced as a SH. So it's not NASA, it's pronounced Nasha. Nasha.
So wait, did you call that a Karen?
Yeah, it's called a caron. C-A-R-O-N. C-A-R-O-N, Karen.
It's an unfortunate.
It's unfortunate. It's also called a haysack. It's also called a haysack.
I'm going to call Karen's haystacks now, and they're not going to know why.
Karen on in the comments section. Yeah, it gives the S pronunciation of SH. So if you ever hear a conspiracy theorist tell you, well, NASA is actually Hebrew for deception, tell them no, it's not NASA, it's Nasha. Mostly because of this right here. This little dot above the letter, the middle letter here in Hebrew, turns this letter into a shen and is pronounced as an SH. Now there is a word in Hebrew which is pronounced close to NASA, and that would be, you change it by, let me just add the shen dot over this side of the shen, and it becomes the Hebrew word nasa, which still isn't NASA, it's nasa, but nasa means to lift up or to carry, which is actually more apt for what NASA does do. You'll see it in phrases like Nisa Adonai panav alecha, may the Lord lift his countenance upon you. So if at any point you can show this clip, I'll probably end up clipping this and putting it on TikTok. If you show this clip to a flat earther who makes this talking point, and they continue to use this poor talking point, then remember and congratulations, for you have just seen Nasha in action. All right. So we're going to bring up our next guest, King of Knives. King of Knives, welcome to the live. I'm going to ask you 4 preliminary questions, and then we can move on to the conversation. Question number 1, are you at least 18 years old?
Yeah.
Question number 2, are you a Bible believer?
Yeah.
Question number 3, how much of the Bible have you read?
The whole thing.
All right. And question number 4, what pronouns do you prefer to go by?
Him.
All right. Make sure you can speak up a little bit because you're a little bit soft spoken. So, King of Knives, he,
sorry, my
him.
phone's off.
You're good. King of Knives, he, him. I'm Dalton, the Bible guy. Tell me, why should I believe in the Bible?
I just want to touch on the point you were just talking about, like the little lesson you were giving, like the word like NASA, right, in Hebrew. Is it like 2 different meanings for the same word, or is it like 2 different words? Like I didn't really understand that because you said to lift up, but there's the other one to deceive. Like, is there 2 different words?
2 different words. So, if you look at the, but they're spelled the same. This is the thing. It's this. So, right
Spelled the
here,
same, exactly. Okay.
Yeah, this is the word for nasa, which means to lift up. The word for deceive is very similar, except for one difference. In the case of the Hebrew word nasa, on the letter shin, the dot appears on the left side.
Oh, I see it now.
Which makes it a sin dot, which makes this middle letter called a sin. And on this side, it's on the right side, which makes it a shin. The way for, by the way, the way for everyone to remember how to differentiate the letter shin from the letter sin, like which side of the letter does the dot give the pronunciation? Remember this: if it's not right, it's sin. That's a way to remember. So if it's on the left side, it's sin. If it's on the right side, it's shin.
Okay, so but like the reason they say that conspiracy because it's pretty close to like the word, right? Because they use one part of it
It's
to try
not
to make it
close.
seem. But anyways, that's no, it is. It's this. It's like the same word.
It's not.
Meanings.
The word for deceive is nasha, not NASA. There is no Hebrew word called NASA.
Yeah. Okay. Even in that respect, like all of the conspiracy they claim, it's close. Like it doesn't have to be the exact word, but it's like it's
Close.
hinting at the fact. But anyway.
Well, they don't make the claim that it's close. They make the claim that the Hebrew word is NASA because they can't read it because they can't read lexicons.
I know, I get it. But okay, the one point that one person just came up before me, she was asking you your history and all that, right? And like you said, like I did the work and I was Protestant, I was Catholic. So like what work like did you do? Like, can you explain that part?
Yeah, I've read the Bible. I learned Hebrew. I learned the cultural and like linguistic context of the Bible. I also went to I took a catechism class when it came to Catholicism. I learned the Talmud when I was part of Judaism and the Shiva mitzvot b'nei Noach. I learned that as well. So yeah, I did lots of studying for like trying to figure out what was true.
True. But what about actually following the practices of what Jesus is teaching you? What about like did you implement all those into your life?
No one. Oh, Christians don't do that. Christians don't actually do what Jesus told them to do.
They're supposed to do that. They're supposed to do that.
Well, I've
That's
never.
the thing. Like Jesus,
Christians don't do
Jesus
that
teaches
though.
us to love one another.
Yeah, Jesus
I know
also.
a majority of them don't.
I guarantee you don't either, though. Like, do you? Like, Jesus taught his followers to observe the law of Moses. Do you observe the law of Moses?
Now you're assuming.
No. Oh,
Now
do
you're
you?
assuming
Okay.
now, 'cause
Do you
you
keep?
don't know for sure.
Do you keep kosher?
I don't eat pork. I don't drink.
No. Do you keep kosher? There's more to keeping kosher than not eating pork.
Yeah, break it down. What else implies with kosher?
When it comes to kosher, for example, do you eat any animal that doesn't have both split hooves and chews the cud?
Yeah, according to like the Levitical laws, like I'm pretty consistent what we should eat when we shouldn't eat.
Do you eat lobster, crab?
No,
Do you-
no
okay.
seafood. No, I don't.
Do you work on the Sabbath? Friday sundown to Saturday
No,
sundown.
not usually. Not usually, unless I actually have to.
And by have to, you mean
Means like family priorities.
all right? Do you
Which
wear?
everybody knows
Do
family?
you wear
priorities.
zitzit?
Well, yeah, obviously, I probably wear like different colors. Yeah.
Show me your tzitzit.
What's that? I don't even know what that is.
So you don't wear tzitzit.
What is that? Like, tell me what that is.
Tzitzit are the tzitzit are the tassels that are worn on the four corners of your garment. They're usually white, and sometimes they'll have a blue strand through them. Do you, as according to Numbers 15, do you wear tzitzit?
Is this to every like Jewish person, or is it like the high priest thing?
Every person, even Jesus wore them.
Every person mandatory has to wear it.
Yes.
I've never seen that one, but
it's
okay,
Numbers.
anyways, no, obviously, no, I don't.
All right. Do you observe the festivals?
Not of the Old Testament.
So you don't keep the Torah?
No. The New Testament is the new covenant between God and man. That's the whole.
So
that's
you
the
don't.
whole theme
So
of
you,
the Bible.
so you don't do what Jesus told you, because Jesus said you're supposed to observe the Torah, all of it, no exceptions.
Yeah, I observe it. I study it.
No,
I understand it.
Observe means you practice it. You do what it says.
No. He never. No. He
Okay.
never. No. He never. It's not like that. It's not like that.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Matthew chapter 23. I'll pull it up on the screen for everyone to see. Second time we've had to open this up today. All right, we're going to break this down. Then Jesus said to the crowds and to his disciples, the scribes and the Pharisees sit on Moses' seat. What does this mean?
Say, repeat it.
The scribes and the Pharisees sit on Moses' seat.
Oh, like they sit on his authority, kind of like what he was supposed to do, what he's supposed to do. Like they're supposed to follow like Moses, basically.
Therefore, do whatever they teach you and follow it. Do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
Hold on, continue. Finish the line first.
Oh,
finish the whole verse.
All right.
You gotta finish the verse.
The ending won't help you at all, but all right. But do not do as they do, for they do not practice what they teach. So what? Well, that doesn't help you. What do the Pharisees teach?
There were a bunch of hypocrites, man.
No. What did the Pharisees teach? Not what they did. What do they teach?
They were supposed to teach the law, but they were crooked.
Oh, okay. Well, no, not that they weren't supposed. It's not that they were supposed to teach the law. They did teach the law. Jesus says, "Do whatever they teach you and follow it."
No, bro, they could teach the law, but if they don't actually follow it, then they're not doing the right thing. I agree.
So they taught the law. So Jesus says, "Do whatever they teach you. Just don't do according to their actions."
Exactly.
So don't break the Torah, which means don't break the Torah. You have to keep the Torah, but you don't keep the Torah.
No, I don't, because Jesus
You're just like the
covenant.
Pharisees. You're just like the Pharisees.
No, it's not. It's not because he didn't get resurrected yet.
Well, okay. After the resurrection, Matthew chapter 28. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything that I have commanded you. What does everything mean?
Everything, the whole sum.
Does that include Matthew 23?
Of course, but you're twisting it. You're completely twisting it.
How am I twisting it?
Because, like I said, there's two commandments that cover all bases: love your neighbor as yourself, love God with all your mind, soul, and strength. If you want to talk about
the two great commandments don't negate your obligation to observe the rest of the commandments. Already within Judaism, they were teaching this teaching from Jesus. If you open up the Talmud, they'll tell you the two great commandments are love God and love your neighbor as yourself. But that doesn't mean that you're not obligated to observe the rest of the law.
Wait, why do you observe all those other things then?
Like I said, Jesus is the new covenant, so it's
No.
That doesn't mean anything.
Why do you eat kosher?
Oh, because it's healthier.
Not because God said so.
It's actually, science actually proves it's healthier.
But you're doing it for health reasons. You're not doing it because God told you to do it.
No, but it's in unison.
I swear this conversation began with him saying that he follows these things. Are we being gaslit?
Yeah, we are.
No, I'm not trying to gaslight you. I'm just saying
You started this conversation with the fact that you follow the commandments and other Christians don't do
Yeah,
this.
like the Ten
But
Commandments.
then we got to, but you just said only the 2 commandments now.
No,
And
hold
and
on.
the
You're,
rest he
you're twisting my
fulfilled.
words. You're not even.
I'm
even
not
saying
twisting
it.
your words.
Yes,
I'm
you are.
representing it. No,
No,
I'm
you're
not.
not. No, you're not. You're saying just this, just that. You're just saying that. Just
You
that.
just
Let
said
me
the
explain.
2 commandments, and now you're saying
Yeah,
the 10
yeah,
commandments.
because I
Which
just
is
got a
it?
reference. Okay, I'm trying to explain. He referenced the sum, right? Do everything I instructed you to do. Yeah, but if you're
Everything.
instructed to do everything, yeah. But he says on these 2 laws rest all of the laws of the prophet. So I'm making a
Yeah,
comparison.
guess
that
what?
if you
Jewish people said that too. Jewish people taught that too. Rabbi Hillel, who existed before Jesus, also said that. But guess what? That doesn't mean you don't have to observe the rest of the Torah. It just means that the entire Torah is summed up by these 2 things. It doesn't mean that by doing these 2 things, you therefore don't have to keep the rest of it. That's not what that means.
No, what the whole theme of the Bible was the spotless lamb. That's
No.
why they do like spotless sacrifice.
No,
That's
Jesus,
the whole theme of the Bible.
That's not. Jesus is not the fulfillment of that. How old is the
It's a
Passover?
metaphor for the future.
No, it's not. How old is the Passover lamb?
How old is the Passover lamb?
Yeah, if you're gonna make the claim that the Passover lamb was
like-
foreshadowing Jesus, then it should be then he should be fulfilling the
Yeah.
requirements for the Passover lamb. How old is the Passover lamb when you sacrifice it?
Oh, it's not going to be completely literal like that. It's just a metaphor, my friend.
So it's only fulfilled
It's
by
not
Jesus
gonna-
in certain ways, but not by in all ways. So it's selectively fulfilled by Jesus.
No.
You know what, Dalton? The whole thing, the whole Bible is a metaphor. Just dump it.
No, it's no. Some of it's metaphor, and some
Oh.
of it is historical fact, and some of it is prophecy.
This is bullshit.
So how do you know
So
it's-
let's get back to the topic at hand, because I'm not going to let you bullshit this. Jesus never once commanded his followers to not observe the law of Moses. Everything he taught was about observing God's commandments, all 613 of them, and never once does he negate this. And no, new covenant,
but
not an excuse for that.
Okay, but he also taught and gave like sermons and did a lot of stuff like that. Okay, but he
And
never
everything he
once
taught
mentioned
confirmed the law of Moses.
No, hold on. He never once mentioned to keep exactly what they used to do back in the day.
No, he
because
did.
He was the new covenant.
He
between
did.
God-
He did. Matthew 23. Matthew 23.
Man, he literally took that out of context so
I did.
bad.
Well, how
It's
did I
not
take?
even
No.
fair.
How do I take it out of context? Tell me. Here, let's go back, because I
Bring it
just
up.
read the
Bring it up
first
again.
few
Let's go back,
verses. Okay. The
Yes,
scribe
because
here.
You're taking it
The
super literally.
That's the problem with Christians. When they don't like what the Bible says, then metaphorize it. The scribes and the Pharisees sat on the seat of Moses. Okay. What does that mean? Can't believe we have to do this again. What does that mean?
We got it. We knew that one. Next
Okay.
one.
Therefore,
That's the- we went through.
do whatever they teach you and follow it. What does that mean?
Yeah, I understand that.
No, what does
Follow
it
the
mean?
law, sure.
Follow the law.
You can
Okay.
make the jump to light space.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
do not do as they
Fine.
do, for they do not practice what they teach. So the Pharisees taught observance of the law of Moses. Jesus said, that's good. Do that. However, the Pharisees weren't keeping the law, and Jesus said, don't do that, because that's hypocrisy. So Jesus here is saying, do not stop observing the law of Moses. You need to do the law of Moses, because the Pharisees are the hypocrites. They're not observing God's law. I don't want you to be like that. I want you to do what they tell you. Just don't do according to their actions.
I understand. It's a fair point. You're making a fair point.
So
But
how
I'm
am I
just
taking it out of
telling you in my
context?
because Jesus was the whole point of the Messiah coming, okay?
No,
Was
the context, not what you
the
think.
context, the whatever it was to save humanity from their sin.
Point to the words, not just what you
Saving
say.
to
humanity
elaborate
from a
and
Jewish
off.
perspective, saving humanity includes bringing everyone back to the observance of God's law. That's what Jesus would have thought. In fact, Jesus tells us that until heaven and earth passes away, not the smallest letter or the smallest stroke of a letter will pass from the law until all is accomplished, and all is not yet accomplished.
Okay.
Therefore, he says, whoever breaks the least of these commandments and teaches others to do so, which is what you're doing right now, will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. Whoever does and teaches them, he will be called great in the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah, but I also reference the 10 Commandments as well. Even if you live by that, you're living a very, very good life.
Well, guess what? There's more than just 10 commandments. There are 613
I know
commandments.
there is, but
And
yes,
you don't
but the
keep
other
all of
ones
them.
are more like a no, but those are more like physical stuff. The 10 Commandments are like really heart.
Oh yeah, and the
centered
Sabbath
stuff.
isn't
There's spiritual.
physical. And the Sabbath isn't physical.
No. There's like physical stuff, the eating dietary
Is
restrictions,
not
stuff like
murdering,
the
not yeah, and
Sabbath.
Jesus upheld those things.
Yeah, those were Levitical laws. Fine,
And,
sure.
and Jesus
We
said you have to
understand
keep them.
Okay.
Don't remember the good ones are
And if
treating
you
women
don't,
as
how about this?
property.
And if you don't keep them, then what? What happens if you don't keep them?
Well,
Answer me that one.
you'll be the least in the kingdom of heaven. Jesus says to his followers in Matthew chapter 7, verse 23, "Depart from me, I never knew you, you who practice lawlessness."
Exactly. What's lawlessness?
Yeah, anomos, without law. If you are negating any of the law of Moses and teaching others to not keep it, like what you're doing, you're a lawless individual.
Bro, you keep saying stuff what I'm doing, but you have no clue what I do.
No, I do know what you do. You don't keep the law.
No,
You
I
you
teach
select.
love
You keep some.
and
I don't care
peace.
about the love part. That's only one part of the law. Guess what? He who keeps part of the law but breaks others, you're guilty of the entire thing. If you go around teaching people, you don't have to keep the feast days anymore. You don't have to observe the dietary laws as commandments. You don't have to do this and this and that because of Jesus. Then guess what? You're doing exactly against what Jesus taught.
Yeah, but when Jesus came, he set the new standard of how to live. Remember he referenced.
The
Moses used to stone them, and then I'm telling you this.
The standard that Jesus
Here's
set
the comeback.
was
Here's the comeback
observance
to the
of
day.
the standard that Jesus set was observance of the law of Moses.
Wait, do
Okay,
you
what-
think Jesus
hold on.
broke any of the commandments?
No, he didn't. He didn't do nothing wrong.
Okay, so
know
so the standard he set was doing the law.
Yeah, but remember what the sermon he said?
No,
He
not
said-
but.
Well, can I explain? Or are you gonna keep cutting me off?
Well, here, what part of the Sermon on the Mount do you think negates the law of Moses?
The sermon. I forget exactly where it is. You probably know where it is. When he says Moses told you to do this, but I tell you. Where's that one?
That's the Sermon on the Mount, and nowhere in the Sermon on the Mount
Exactly,
does Jesus.
thank you.
And nowhere in the Sermon on the Mount does Jesus negate the law of Moses. In fact, he takes it to the next step. He takes it even further. He doesn't loosen it. He makes it a lot harder.
Oh my gosh.
You have heard
builds
that
a fence around the Torah.
you have heard that
Hold on.
you have heard that
Hold
you have
on.
heard that it was said to those of ancient times, "You shall not murder, and whoever murders shall be liable to judgment." But I say to that, if you are angry
but
with
by
a
your
brother or
standard.
sister, you will be liable to judgment. And if you insult
right.
a brother or sister, you will be liable to the council. And if you say "you fool," you will be liable to hell. Are you familiar with the Jewish
but you're
practice of
basically-
building a fence around the Torah?
Yes.
Then tell me what that
I
is.
get it, but that's what they're exactly doing. Okay, they were accusing Jesus.
Asked you.
1 second.
That's not what I asked you.
That's not this specific.
Yeah, this has
portion,
nothing to
is
do
it,
with
either?
this has nothing to do with blasphemy whatsoever. King of Knives. How familiar
Sorry.
are you with the
I'm
Jewish
back, I'm
concept
back, sorry.
of building a fence around the Torah? What do you know about that?
Like basically it doesn't count anymore.
No.
Is that what building a fence around the
no,
Torah means?
building a
What?
fence. Here, let me give you an example, a practical example. Let's say let's say you're a teenager. You're living at home with your parents. They bring home leftovers from their date. They say, "Don't eat our leftovers." Then you end up doing it. The next time they go out, they say, "Don't eat our leftovers." And then they say, "Actually, don't even go near the fridge." The base commandment is don't eat our leftovers. The fence that they build around the commandment so that you don't even come close to breaking it is don't even go near the fridge. Jesus is, and this is a practice that was done in Judaism. Judaism says, for example, in the Torah, you shall not boil a young goat, and its mother's milk. Jewish people built a fence around the Torah. They created extra stipulations like don't even eat milk and meat together so that Jewish people wouldn't even come close to breaking the law. That's all Jesus is doing here. He's taking the base commandment, thou shalt not murder, and he's building a fence around the commandment, don't even hate your brother. This doesn't negate or lessen the Torah by any way. If anything, it reinforces the commandment. It means you have to keep it even more.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. But remember, he came with new things, and like that's why they were mad at him.
Like
because
what?
it says, "Oh, what should we do?" Because remember when they caught the woman in adultery? Oh, whoever doesn't have sin can cast the first stone.
Oh, brother. The story of the adulterous
What?
woman. The story of the adulterous woman. I'm about to blow your mind, buddy. So
There's two reasons
yeah.
that this story isn't reported.
So John chapter 8. Let's take a look at the manuscript evidence. What do you notice right here?
It was empty.
Yeah. You want to know why this part is empty?
Why?
Because every single manuscript of the Gospel of John prior to the 4th century CE doesn't have the story of the adulterous woman. It's an addition. It was added in later. It's not from the author of the Gospel of John. And even then, even if you want to consider the story of the adulterous woman, if Jesus would have stoned her, he would have been breaking the law of Moses. Because the law of Moses says that when you
what if? You're saying what if?
No, it's not a what if. We know what the law of Moses says. If you stone whenever you bring someone who's committed adultery, you have to bring the man and the woman, and you have to bring 2 or 3 witnesses, and you have to bring them to the gates of the city. The story in the Gospel of John, she's not brought to the gate of the city. The man is not present, and there aren't 2 or 3 witnesses. If Jesus would have stoned her, he would have been breaking the law of Moses. Him not stoning her is actually a reinforcement of the law of Moses.
Yeah, he actually talks about the second witness or whatever, the man being there in the text if you actually read it.
I get it. I get what you're saying. I hear you.
We have a prophet among the Discord server, Yannick. Just FYI, they foresaw that you would bring this story up.
Oh.
Just want to say we have a prophet.
All hail Yannick.
Okay, so like I said, but they remember the Pharisees and scribes were getting mad at Jesus because he wasn't following the law like how they were.
No.
Yes.
That's not why.
Blasphemy. Yes, they did.
No. Okay, first and foremost, the claims of Jesus committing blasphemy is him saying he's the Son of God. Nothing in the Torah says you can't call yourself the Son of God. That's not breaking the law of Moses.
No, remember all the other times where they go to get him, and then he just walks away.
Are you
and
talking
just slip through the
about
crowd?
Mark
No,
2?
there's many instances where they go to get him. And
the
he just
instances where
disappears.
Jesus is working on the Sabbath and they get mad at him is actually okay in Jewish law, because in Jewish law there is a concept called pikuach nefesh, the preservation of life, which is based on Leviticus 18 verse 5 that says if you keep the law, you will live by it. Jewish people said, well, that means that if you are keeping like the Sabbath, for example, in a way that results in the not the preservation of life, but in someone dying or getting sick or going hungry, then you're not actually keeping the Sabbath. So you're allowed to heal on the Sabbath. You're allowed to pick a grain on the Sabbath in order to eat it if you're hungry. These are all things that are permissible under Torah law, and Jesus is actually using this workaround in Jewish law.
Okay. So okay.
I thought you said
let's just
hold
clarify
on.
for 1 second.
No, I want to clarify something you said earlier. I asked you specifically, did Jesus break the law? And you said no. And now it seems like you're trying to get him to break the law somehow.
Oh, Jesus, no, I'm not. I don't even know where you
Well,
came up
if
with
he
that.
worked
Anyways.
on the Sabbath and it wasn't, and you think that that's part of the law, would that not be him breaking the law?
So I don't follow Old Testament law.
But
Yeah,
you
'cause
said
yeah, because
Jesus
you don't
did.
follow Jesus. What would
No, I
Jesus do
follow
except
Jesus.
for no, you know. What would
You just
Jesus
have a
do?
misheard
What would Jesus do? Would Jesus keep the law of Moses?
Jesus is the Messiah. So
Well, that doesn't answer my
yeah.
question. So
He's
he
not
would.
just a man.
He would keep them. He would keep the law.
No, he
and therefore,
wouldn't.
if
He's
you
the
want to
Messiah.
do,
He's a holy
if you want to
standard.
do what Jesus would do, you have to keep the law of Moses.
No, the whole reason the law was even made is to get you to Jesus. That's what
Okay.
the
So
whole law was
here's
made for.
here's the real problem.
Get you to Jesus. And
Here's
then Jesus
the
teaches you.
real
what's
problem.
up.
This is the real problem here, King of Knives, and you've just exemplified the problem here. At the end of the day, you're not actually following Jesus. Who you're following is Paul. You get your theology on the law from Paul and not from Jesus. Everything you've said tonight has been colored by your understanding of the writings of Paul and not what Jesus said.
I disagree.
No, because guess what? The idea that the law was meant to lead us to Jesus, that's Paul.
No, no,
Yeah,
no, it's not,
Galatians
man.
chapter 5. Therefore, the
Just
law.
because you
Therefore,
reference it doesn't mean it's all Paul. How you
it
make
is
that jump to
Paul.
light speed?
Because Jesus didn't teach you not to keep the law of Moses. You haven't
Bro,
been able
Jesus
to.
was the new standard. Jesus was the Messiah, man.
If Jesus is the standard and Jesus keeps the law, then the standard is to keep the law.
No. Okay, the Bible is structured.
Syllogism.
Waiting for the
Syllogism
Messiah.
time. Syllogism time. Premise number 1: Jesus is the standard. Premise number 2: Jesus keeps the law. Conclusion: the standard is to keep the law, therefore you should keep the law. Which one of the premises do you disagree with?
Bro, this might sound crazy to you, but the law doesn't apply to Jesus. The law was for men at that time.
Wait, the law
And
didn't
also
apply to Jesus?
To get them
The law
holier,
didn't apply to
get them holier and
Jesus?
better.
The law didn't apply to
Jesus
Jesus?
obviously practiced some of the law. Yes, he did.
Some of the
course
law.
did,
He
but
practiced
he's
all the law.
Messiah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
The
sure.
Messiah
You
is
told me.
the Messiah has to
You
keep the law
told
of
me
Moses.
earlier. You told me earlier that he kept the law. Now
Okay,
you're just
of
lying.
course. Okay, I'm just trying to agree with you. Okay, but I'm just saying.
Don't just
you
agree with
cannot
us.
place
Say
these-
what you actually believe. In order to be the
I'm trying
Messiah, you have to keep the law of Moses.
You guys have a twisted understanding of Jesus in the Bible.
Well, no,
I think
twisted.
we've got it
Yes,
perfectly
that's what's
clear.
really going on
We've
here.
used the text to support our claims. We've given you
you're
evidence
taking
for
stuff out of
everything.
context and you're twisting it to your
We've already asked you what the context were, and you fucking flailed all over the place.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we're reading Jesus in light of like his Jewish cultural background and what the Bible actually says. You're reading Jesus through the lens of church tradition, and we prefer data over dogma around here.
Okay, for starters, I don't even go to church that often.
I don't care if
read
you
the Bible.
I didn't
more
ask
than
you.
that.
I didn't make the claim you went to church. That you
No, I know,
read the
we cannot
Bible
follow
through
church
church.
standards, but-
No, you read the Bible through church tradition because what you're teaching isn't what Jesus said.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever you say, guys. But at the end of the day, you have to understand how the Bible is structured. Okay.
I understand the Bible is structured more than you do. I understand how the Bible is
Well, let me
structured far
explain.
more than you do.
Let's
Tell me
explain
here,
for 1 second.
here, King
Okay,
of
fine,
Knives.
that's fine.
What?
That's fine, that's fine.
No, King of Knives. What are the 3 segments of the Hebrew Bible?
The Tanakh. Oh, sorry. Hold on. You got me on this one.
The
I haven't looked this one up. I'm
Torah,
gonna
the
look it
Nevi'im, and the
Yeah.
Ketuvim. Okay. And the Torah is made up of 4 sections that were brought together to form a single text. What are those 4 segments called?
I don't know.
They're called the J source, the E source, the P source, and the D source, which stands for Jehovah source, the Elohim source, the priestly source, and the Deuteronomist source. I know the structure of the Bible better than you. Let's not play that game.
Yeah, you know the structure, sure, but you're not following what it's telling you because if you claim
No,
to be
you're
a
not
Catholic and a
following.
Protestant,
First and foremost,
Hold on.
I'm an atheist.
Hold on.
First and foremost, I'm an atheist. I don't have
No,
to
I
follow what the
know,
Bible
I
says.
understand,
But you don't follow what Jesus said, and that's the problem.
Well, hold on. You said you were a Catholic and a Protestant, and that you did all the work.
At one point.
But you yet to actually continue because the Bible says never give up.
I stopped
Keep
continuing
going.
because guess what? At the end of the day, Knives, I care about more about what's true rather than what's more comfortable. And when I read the Bible,
What's true? What should I do for my life?
and the data doesn't stack up against the dogma, then the dogma gets thrown out.
Okay.
I'm not
So-
your
so how should I
I'm not
conduct my
I'm not
life?
your fucking life coach. You can go figure out how to live
No,
your
I
life
get
somewhere
it.
else. This is not about this is
No,
not
but you said
about
you know,
this
it's
is not
doing good.
this is not about me giving you advice on how to live your life. We're here to talk about what does the Bible say and what it doesn't say. If you want a fucking life
No, but
coach,
if-
go
if
pay
you
someone
throw-
else to do the work.
Yeah. Fine, that's fine. But you're throwing out the Bible completely. But you're not
Yes.
telling me how to
Well, because
what's the
Jesus
right thing
wasn't
to
the
do.
oh yeah, I'm throwing out the Bible completely because Jesus wasn't the Messiah. He didn't fulfill a single messianic prophecy.
Yeah, but you cannot tell me what to do anyways. So what's the difference in you and the Bible?
I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling that you don't have any good reason for me to believe in the Bible.
So how should I conduct my life in the best way possible?
Go find a fucking life coach. I'm not going to sit here for free and tell you how to live your life. Either argue for why the Bible is
You were
true
using the
or leave.
you were using the Bible to like conduct your life well. It puts women as property. Weird.
Oh, come on. No one believes that. Like,
I don't care what
relax,
it
man.
doesn't. Oh,
No one
knives,
actually believes
knives.
that.
No one cares
we
what
we
they
all know what
believe.
it says.
We know that you as a Christian don't do and believe what the Bible says. We get that. The question is not what do you believe, but what does the Bible say? And the Bible does position women as property repeatedly throughout the text. So we don't care what you believe. We care what the Bible says.
Yeah, the Old Testament where they
New
went
Testament
to go
too.
conquer their land.
New Testament too.
Yeah,
Because
I get
Jesus
that.
upheld the Old Testament.
All right. All right. I see. Anyways.
I am afraid you don't. All you
Yeah,
did was
I
lie.
love everyone. I
All
love
you
everyone.
did. I
And I
don't fucking
forgave
know who
everyone.
you are.
Yeah, no,
I
you
don't need your forgiveness.
And I'm not. I don't care if you say. Best fun fact: people who love everyone don't need to come out and tell everyone that they love them. They can just act loving, which would
No, but you're
mean.
making false accusations about me. So
Well, no, I haven't made a false. I didn't make any false accusations about you. You demonstrated over and over again that you actually don't observe what Jesus said. So no false accusations made here.
And you legitimately lied. Like, we can all hear you. You would say one thing and then retract, and then you're like, oh, I'm just telling you what you want to hear. If you do that, you had the intent of deception. That is a lie.
Yeah. Well, that was fun. Let's see. Do we have anyone on YouTube? No one on TikTok. So everyone, we have 14. Listen, I've got 14 minutes before we end the live. So if you want to get in real quick and make a conversation with me, friendly or opposition, you feel free to come up and we have a conversation. Yeah, there we go. Someone talking about Paul going off in the comments. Who's Paul? Paul is raging right now. Who? Oh, Paul, like Paul the Apostle is raging? I don't know. And the reason, by the way, everyone, the reason why Paul and Jesus' philosophy, angriest toad ever, you're more than welcome to ask a question. The reason why Paul and Jesus' philosophies on the law differ so drastically is because there were two different opinions in early Judaism in the first century as to the perpetuity of the law. For more information on that, see The Limits of Orthodox Theology by Mark B. Shapiro. Hey, Chapter, what's up?
Hey, Chapter. And just one
hello.
more thing for King of Knives. Love is not telling your people that if they worship false idols, that you'll punish their children, their children's children, your children's children. God literally said, I am a jealous God, punishing children for the iniquity of parents to the third and fourth generation of those who reject me. That's in your fucking 10 Commandments, Exodus 20, verse 4 and 5. That is not love.
Agreed.
Howdy, Chapter, what's up?
For only 14 minutes. Today's live seemed to fly by very quickly.
They always do.
So, I just wanted to say Happy New Year. I know I'm a couple of weeks late to both you and Ashland. I hope you had a good one.
You too, Chapter.
Yeah, great. Been all right. But yeah, I've got a paper. My first paper in my link tree is about how Jesus followed the Mosaic law throughout, and it's a very lengthy paper that looks at the Greek language, and yeah, it's a really in-depth study into it. But yeah, that guy, what was his name? King of Knives?
Yeah.
I won't refer to him because he's not here to defend himself, but all I can say is he pretzeled himself because, yes, as many other Christians do, they follow Paul, not Jesus.
It's crazy that a lot of Christians seem to believe that Jesus taught them not to observe the law of Moses, but as soon as I hand the New Testament, the Gospels over to a rabbi and they read it, they'll say, oh yeah, Jesus was keeping the law and he was teaching everyone else to. It's so obvious because they don't have the baggage, the Christian baggage. They can just read the New Testament from the Jewish lens.
Absolutely, and I think you noted it quite a few times. You mentioned how some people think Jesus added to the law, but no, that's not exactly correct, is it? He might have reinforced the law, perhaps.
Yeah, the
That's a
exact
better way
phrase,
of putting it.
the exact phrase is he built a fence around the Torah.
Built a fence around the Torah. Yeah, so to reinforce what was already there, to make sure that there were barriers around people breaking the law, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. The two books I would suggest for anyone who wants to see what the New Testament is like from a Jewish perspective, the academic source I would suggest would be the Jewish Annotated New Testament, and then from Oxford, and then there's a rabbi who wrote about this topic called Kosher Jesus by Rabbi Shmuley Boteach.
That's great. Okay, I'll have to listen back to this live. But I've got a couple of questions. One is I saw a video about a woman who apparently is Jewish, boiling water and then keeping it in a thermos so she didn't have to boil water on the Sabbath.
Yeah, because the Torah forbids you from building a fire on the Sabbath. So it means you can't do any like active cooking with fire or flames or electricity even. So Jewish people have created all kinds of workarounds in order to have like lights and cooked food on the Sabbath and stuff like that.
That's foolish. I
Right.
saw this one TikTok where they boiled the water and then they put it in plastic baggies and put it in the freezer so it could maintain.
Okay, that's great. My final point was now, this is something I heard about a long time ago, where there are these ropes or strings or wires that are built around certain blocks so people could go out and do shopping or something like that, or do their daily purchases.
Yeah. So you'll notice actually in the book of like for example in the book of Acts chapter 1, this is actually quite related. It says here, let's see, let me see if I can find out. Maybe the translation might be the problem. Wait a minute. Control F. Control F. Here we go. Then they returned to Jerusalem from the mount called Olivet, which is near Jerusalem, a Sabbath day journey away. Yeah, within the Torah it says you shan't go out from your place on the Sabbath. And the question is, what does that mean? The first century Jews of the first century interpreted this to mean that there is a certain distance that one is allowed to travel on the Sabbath. The lines that you're referring to are meant to designate to Jewish people, like this is the distance one is allowed to travel on foot on the Sabbath and still be considered within one's place.
Perfect. That really does explain what it is. So it is the delineation between how far they can and cannot travel outside their place of dwelling.
Correct.
Wonderful. I was fascinated by that because that is still something that exists today. And I think including in the US, in places like, I don't know, Queens or New York in general.
And Harlem has a huge Jewish population.
Harlem, there we go. Yeah, that might be the correct place. I find this amazing because, I saw videos of people who follow that tradition today. They will not go outside those wires on designated days when they have to go out.
Yeah, for more information, see the 39. So it says, thou shalt not work on the Sabbath. What is considered work according to Orthodox Jews? There are 39 prohibited acts on the Sabbath. So you can just look up 39 prohibited acts for the Sabbath for more information.
Oh, there it is. 39 prohibited activities on the Sabbath. There's ones from the Orthodox Union. 39 melanchot, is that correct?
Yeah, melechot. It's work. Melechot is the word for work.
Sorry,
there.
my bad. Melechot. I added an N. Melechot. Okay, thank you so much. I'll head off. I don't want to keep you too long. So
Happy
you
to
can
have
finish
you.
up. Thank you so much.
Good to see you, Chapter. All right. We're going to bring up Rob DG. Rob DG, I'm going to ask you 4 preliminary questions and we can move on to the conversation. Question number 1, are you at least 18 years old?
Yep.
Are you a Bible believer?
Nope.
All right, skip question 3, go to question 4. What pronouns do you prefer to go by?
He, him.
All right, he, him. Rob, I'm Dalton the Bible Guy. What brings you up to the channel?
Oh yeah, I was just hearing with the previous guy, and I just thought it was funny how many Christian, or at least modern day Christians, like secretly hate their own Old Testament, even though they claim that all the prophecies about Jesus come from it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I posted a thing in the chat, just like how many Christians are like secret Marcionites, basically.
There is like an undercurrent of Marcionite sort of like leanings within modern day Christianity. Because on the one hand, the Old Testament is where they get their creation myth. It's where they get the flood myth. It's where they get prophecies. But at the same time, God forbid anyone should observe the laws of Moses. And that's all because of Paul's theology and nothing more.
Unless it's executing gay people, of course.
Yeah, yeah. And, unless it's an act that revolves around hating a minority group, then you can observe the law of Moses. Yeah.
Actually, sorry, I shouldn't say it. It depends how extreme they are, because I mean, I don't know how many Christians actually want to execute gay people, but like, there's definitely are. There's a rising.
Can you maybe not say that so often?
Yeah. Maybe perhaps it's certain, especially Baptist groups, fundamentalist Baptist groups are really hardcore for that stuff. Yeah.
Sorry, the TikTok.
Yeah.
That's very blatantly violent.
By the way, Bible Baby was in the box just now. Bible Baby, I was so hoping to get you to come up next because I was going to roast the fuck out of you for lying to me or for lying to my friend Liz. I'm going to figure out who you're lying to because you are a liar. Anyways, I
actually have 2 questions. So first, this whole like secret Marcionite thing, obviously not actual Marcionism, because like I think like Marcion got condemned as a heretic because he went a little too far and just like outright rejecting the Old Testament. But like this whole idea that the Old Testament is separate from the New Testament, like it's definitely not. Like it does seem to be something employed by like modern Christian apologists who's like some of the Old Testament stuff offends their sensibilities. But like honestly, I don't think that's a new thing like in Christian history, right? Because like, you know, even like the church or the Roman Catholic Church always used to teach that like basically the Judaism, all the rites and all of the ceremonial stuff is defunct.
Yeah, so Christians make the claim that that the law is divided into 3 parts. That they make the claim that it's divided amongst ceremonial law, civil law, and moral law. However, the Jewish people never framed the law as being divided into these 3 sections. This was just a way for later Christians to sort of like renegotiate and try to understand like why it is that Paul believes some things were done away with, but some things weren't, and their way of making sense of it. But the Jewish people themselves never would say something like, oh, this is a ceremonial law and this is a moral law and this is a civil law. They never would have said something like that.
Yeah, and then I guess also the second question is like, how much do Jesus and Paul actually disagree on stuff? Because like that's where, I mean, Christians might claim that like the Old Testament no longer applies or something like that, but what really offends them is if you unless they're a dispensationalist, they're going to generally reject the idea that Jesus and Paul disagreed on theology.
It's hard to know exactly how much because we're only seeing a small slice of, like, for example, if we're talking about the historical Jesus, we don't know exactly what the historical Jesus actually believed. All we have are the authors of the gospel speaking on his behalf. And when it comes to Paul, we have 7 authentic.
You don't know exactly what Paul believed either.
Yeah, we have 7 authentic Pauline epistles, and we're able to derive from them some of what Paul believed. And like I referenced earlier, there were Jewish people, and these are just authentic Jewish positions that occurred in the first century. There were some Jews who believed that the Torah would continue in perpetuity into eternity. Like people would always be observing the law of Moses. And there were rabbis who also believed that during the Messianic era, the Torah would be done away with, at least in part. And Paul just seemed to agree with the latter over the former, and Jesus with the former over the latter.
Right.
And Paul seems to
All right,
also
yeah,
be.
that's about it. It just seems, yeah.
Paul seems to be a Hellenistic Jew as well. So he is also heavily influenced by Greek philosophical thought as well, which colors his like theology a little bit too. Like a lot of his theology seems very reminiscent of early like mystery cult sort of religion.
It is funny because there is some stuff that Paul actually says that, like, you know, the guy was saying that some of it was going against the Old Testament, but like the stuff Paul says that actually does seem like it's, or that Jews probably would consider blasphemous. Like when he says, he makes a joke at one point, I think it's in Galatians, and he's talking about people who prefer that the Gentiles be circumcised, and he says,
That
you know,
they
I
should
wish they would
castrate
just take
themselves.
the knife and go too far. So
Yeah, he says he's so against the idea of Gentiles being circumcised that he wishes that the Jewish
But
people
I
who are
actually
trying
agree with that.
would just castrate them. Yeah, I mean, I'm anti-circumcision as well, so like that's one of the few points where Paul is like a W for him. But yeah, you know.
Yeah. And it is funny because I do see some of you on this platform, like I guess there's like progressive Christians who want to reject both the Old Testament and reject Paul because, like, you know, Paul teaches women should obey their husbands. But like,
well, not here's the thing.
It is, yeah.
It's not really Paul. There's Paul and there's pseudo Paul, and pseudo Paul in which are the writings that claim to be from Paul. That's the one that says that's very
But
misogynistic.
he says that but he says that in some of the authentic letters as well, though, right?
There is a segment of one of the authentic epistles, but most scholars are pretty convinced that even that is probably an interpolated text and probably wasn't original to the epistle.
Well, I think the one that's interpolated is the women be silent in the churches. But there are things about like the family structure, and I think 1 Corinthians and I think Ephesians is pseudo Paul, right?
Yes.
Oh no, or is it just the pastoral letters that are pseudo Paul?
No, there's out of the 13 epistles of Paul, only 7 of them are authentically from him.
Yeah. But anyways, I just thought it was funny because all of the, like, I don't know, I guess like more liberal Christians are saying like, oh, the wonderful, nice Jesus theology versus the horrible Paul theology. Whereas it's like, okay, if you want to reject the Old Testament, you should be going with Paul.
Yeah.
Like,
also remind them
like they
that
want to throw Paul under the bus.
Also remind them that Jesus called the Syrophoenician woman a dog. So there's that too.
Yeah. Or wasn't it the Canaanite woman?
Yeah, she's a Syrophoenician. That's a Canaanite woman.
Okay. And then I get this last question. There is a more kind of serious progressive Christian podcaster called Randall Rouser.
Okay.
And I was just listening to something that he said, but I think he said at one point that Jesus supposedly repudiates not the Old Testament law, but the imprecatory psalmist when he says, you have heard it said, I think it's love your neighbor, but hate your enemies, or like pray for them to be destroyed or something. And then he asks like, okay, so who was it who was saying that you should like pray for your enemies to be destroyed? And that's
the
like
psalmist.
The imprecatory psalms do say that.
Yeah. The psalmist.
I think
does
that
occasionally say
actually
that.
would be a contradiction if you take that to its logical conclusion.
Yeah, I think that Jesus is basically just holding his audiences to a higher moral standard. He's just taking the certain. So there, within first century Judaism, you have to remember that there are like amongst the Pharisees, there are 2 main schools of thought. There is the school of Shammai, who were very conservative and very aggressive. And then there was the school of Hillel, and they were very progressive and very lenient about how the Torah should be communicated and how it should be practiced in more loving nature. And for the most part, Jesus tends to side with the school of Hillel in his application of the Torah, including these passages. And I can only think of one instance.
Which one is that?
Hillel? He's the progressive one, the progressive rabbi.
Okay.
Yeah. And
are the Pharisees that he's arguing with the more conservative ones?
Generally, yeah. And the only time he ever agrees with the side of Hillel is on the topic of marriage, in which case he thinks that only for adultery should you be divorcing your wife. That's the only way. It's the only time, at least I can remember, where he's agreeing with the school of Shammai. Otherwise, he generally quotes Hillel. Hillel is the one who said originally, before Jesus was ever around, whatever you would want someone to do to you, do to them. You know, the golden rule.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Because if he's saying, like, you know, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, and then he also says you will be persecuted for my name's sake. Well, if somebody's persecuting you for his name's sake, then that would make them an enemy of God. So
yeah,
that would, because the way people try to get around it is they say, oh, David, of course the Psalms aren't actually written by David and they're not necessarily speaking in first person, but like they say, because I've heard an infamous pastor try to say this, but I won't name him here. NIFB pastors say, like, oh, well, you know, Jesus is just saying don't pray for your personal enemies to die, but David is saying, you know, I'm praying for God's enemies to die. And it's
is it the guy who has a haircut like mine, who wears a suit and tie? And Anderson. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What a dick. I hate that guy.
Yeah. It's Mr. Anderson. We'll just call him.
Yeah, Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, he's saying, like, oh, he's not praying for your personal enemies. He's just praying for God's enemies to die. And it's like, well, wouldn't anyone, like, who's out there saying that, like, my enemies are not God? Like, any pastor who has personal enemies is automatically just going to call them God's enemies anyways. So like, it's a stupid clarification. Like,
yeah. But Rob, hey, thank you for coming up and for being the last guest for the day. You've been wonderful and also knowledgeable, more knowledgeable than the Christians who come on. So you have a wonderful day, Rob.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Just FYI, Redheaded Trouble Elizabeth is live.
Oh, good.
For the raid.
Yeah. YouTube Punk. Give a link to.
I don't know her YouTube.
I don't think she has a YouTube.
You can't just find her. Okay.
She's just TikTok right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. I put her name in the comments.
All right. Fantastic. All right. I'm gonna read a super chat, and then we're gonna send you all to Redhead. What's Liz's actual username? Redhead. Take a look.
Redheaded Trouble.
Redheaded Trouble.
_ dot.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
At Gentleman Viking with the $5. I always thought an Eruv was a hack to make God think that everything inside the wire was one house.
I think you meant say I. For everyone who doesn't know, Eruv here is referring to those. It's referring to those border wires that they use on the Sabbath. It's called an Eruv line. I always thought an Eruv was a hack to make God think everything inside the wire was one house. Hey, you know what? If it works, it works. I mean, God's not the brightest bulb in the kitchen, so it works. I mean, he doesn't even know what's inside the women that he created, allegedly. So, you know, if you can trick him, if he doesn't even know what's inside of a woman, then sure, you can trick him into thinking this is a big house with lots of room. That's for the evangelical kids who knew the song. Eru Iluvatar, not Eru Iluvatar, not Eru Iluvatar. Lord of the Rings nerd here. Love it. Same here. All right. All right. We're going to send a raid over to Redheaded Trouble. Tell her that the Bible guy in Ashland sent you. And remember, everyone, I've been the Bible guy. Remember to keep reading, keep learning, and we'll see you all again Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Bye.
Born from dust and questioning fire, wielding truth like a sword of desire. Ancient scrolls and cosmic flame, he tears through myth, he breaks the chain. Echoes of prophets, the stars align, knowledge and thunder intertwine. Reason ascends where blind faith fell, he reads the word and he reads it well. The Bible guy, seeker of the light, through time and fire he rides the night, with reason's blade and wisdom's cry. The world shall hear the Bible guy. Scrolls of ages, words aflame, he dares to question